Good to go? All right. We're going to start. Welcome back to the VanEman podcast, episode, I don't know, completely lost track. I've said that probably 4 or 5 in a row. The VanEman podcast, the conversations we would have had anyway, which actually, Tony, you should check. I think I forgot the tagline at least the last 3 episodes. So for all of you, there you go. There's the tagline. Couple of thanks, quick. Stickers, cool. These are awesome. We got these from the Pastel Pencil. You can find them on the gram. They're pretty cool. A young local female entrepreneur got us these, and she's doing a hell of a job. We also want to thank Bolt Mink Studios on the gram. They're doing an awesome job. Tony's behind the box back there with the headphones on, doing a great job as well. Tony, did you get your raise yet that we have been talking about on the last few episodes?
Annual reviews tomorrow.
Ooh, all right. Well, you need to take this footage and you need to bring that into the room with you because Tony deserves a raise. He does a really good job. We also, let's see, is there anything else? We don't have any coolers or anything in here. Bent Pedal Brewing, thank you for creating this very delicious hazy IPA that I'm enjoying right now. Other than that, we have a guest today, which we know each other, but not really well. Adequate?
Adequate.
Okay. So we have Angie VanEman, who you and I grew up in the same, neighborhood-ish.
Yes.
Because you were on Manchester Court.
Yes.
Right? Next to Zach Murrah.
Yes, who I work with.
Who you work with, yes. So it was Wayne and Leanne. There were, we were on East Main. There were Dickow's. There were Luke and Logan Olafson.
And Michael.
And Michael, yes, thank you. I forgot about him because, anyway, sorry. He's not watching.
There's no way he's watching.
No. Maybe after you promote this. We'll see.
Maybe. We'll see. I'm not friends with him on Facebook.
Well, first of all, I want to say thank you for coming.
Oh, you're welcome. Thanks for having me.
You're very welcome. And I guess the way that we usually start these conversations is really...
Well, just take it back.
Okay.
We grew up together in the same neighborhood.
Yep.
We're a couple years apart. People can guess who's older.
Obviously
and then
me.
schools, whatever. And we actually lived by each other for 1 month. In Upper
yes,
North.
We did.
Yes, if you remember that.
No, but did you went to Kennedy, right?
I went to Kennedy.
Yeah.
And then Franklin.
Yes.
And then East Junior High. And then I switched to West Senior High.
Okay. So.
And my boyfriend was from Loyola. So I have all the schools.
Wow. You do have all the schools. Except for did you date anyone from Mount Olive or anything like that?
No.
Stayed away from that?
was tied up with Loyola.
So, okay. So go back. I was thinking about what I was going to talk about during this episode because I try my best to do just a little bit of prep, but purposely not very much at all. Because
Perfect.
I would much rather just have a conversation than,
Yes.
than not, be all prepared. So you, back in the day, maybe this is something you would find funny or maybe you won't. If it's not, then we'll totally just edit it out. So you were you were friends with Britta Murrah, right?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Do you still talk to Britta?
I haven't spoken to her for a while.
Okay. So Britta Murrah, when you guys, you were young, we were young. I remember, Zach and I vividly remember this. He had these, cowboy boots, and I have, gym shorts on. I have his cowboy boots on. So we're first, second grade,
He
maybe.
still wears cowboy boots.
He does, yes. So he had these cowboy boots, and I thought they were really cool, and so I put them on. Leanne got mad at me because I wasn't supposed to wear Zach's stuff or whatever, and you remember Leanne. And
I do.
She would tell you when she thought you were wrong. And
individual human.
Yep. So I had these cowboy boots on, and we were walking outside. And I remember you and Britta, I think, probably coming from your house, walking past Zach's. And I remember us being afraid of you two. We would run to the other side of the street and be like, "Oh my gosh, they're coming! Just run away from them!" Because I just vividly remember that.
That's funny. So Britta's a year older. Zach is a year younger than me, or 2.
Okay, so I think 2 years.
Maybe 2.
Because he graduated the same year I did.
Yeah.
Yep.
There, we just gave it away.
Yeah.
No, but so he's always been like a little brother to me. We gave each other a hard time, and we still do. But I love him now. We have such the great relationship. He's a great agent on my team. But I would imagine he was afraid of me and Britta. So that sounds accurate.
Well, at that time, he was. We were little kids.
Yeah.
But the interesting part is Zach was probably the first friend I ever had that I can remember.
Oh, funny.
So my dad worked at that was then Norwest, and
Yep.
so did Wayne.
Yep.
And so when my dad and my mom, myself and my sister, I was 2, Jen was 1, and we moved to Mankato from Red Wing. Obviously through the bank, it was like, hey, we have kids that roughly the same age,
Yeah.
and so Zach and I like played t-ball and stuff together. So like out of all the people that I know and still keep in contact
Yeah.
with, he's the one that I have the earliest memories of.
Oh, that's cool.
So yeah, so that's kind of interesting anyway. So like, what do you think it was like as, what were we growing up in the late 90s, or mid 90s?
Yes.
Late 90s? I mean, like, what did you think about Mankato, Kennedy, Franklin? Like, what did you think about growing up in Mankato?
I loved our neighborhood, and I was actually I said this morning to somebody. Now being a mom, so I have a 3-year-old, and I look back like my childhood growing up. We always played like trench in the neighborhood and like being outside, and it was kind of like come home when it was dark out. And it's a little bit different now. A lot of my friends I have now are my friends I've had from either like elementary school, middle school, or even high school, which I feel very fortunate to have those long friendships. I did switch schools because I was really badly bullied in 7th and 8th grade. So I actually ate with the health teacher or in the bathroom. They wouldn't let you walk home in junior high because we lived walking distance. So then that's why I actually switched to West.
Really?
So yeah.
So, okay, so now the way that you and I kind of went through school, it was Kennedy, and then we went 6th grade at Franklin.
Yep.
Oh, did you find the 6th grade Franklin transition like fun or good or bad, or did you like it?
I
or not?
didn't like it because if I remember correctly, I think they were called pods, maybe.
Yeah, that's
And I
right.
think there were like 3 different ones. And I remember like one of my good friends was in a different one. So like you couldn't really, the way it was set up, like, and this was quite some time ago.
Yeah.
But you didn't really see them that often or have that interaction. So it's kind of hard going to then, now you have all these schools coming together and you're forced to meet new friends, which is good and fine. But that comfort of having your friends you grew up with the last 5 years.
Who were those people or person, or who was that was in the other pod?
She actually moved away. Jessica Strong was a gal that I would. She's one person that I would love to like know where she's at. That
Really?
I've thought about. I have no idea what happened with her. Other people, I'm not going to mention their names.
All right. Isn't that interesting, though? Like, you think about, I had this the other day. I was thinking about, my mom made me go through a lot of the stuff that was in my old room in our house. And this is a little while ago now, but like I'm going through stuff and like you have pictures of like this class, and you have all the pictures of the kids and stuff that were in the class. And I thought the very same thing. I'm like, I'd love to know where some of these people were that you connected with from, let's say, 4th to 7th grade, but then they moved away or something changed or whatever, you know what I mean? Like, that'd be really interesting we were talking about social media a little bit beforehand.
Yeah.
It's interesting how you can actually, I mean, give or take, but you actually have an opportunity to where 20 years ago, 30 years ago, you would never have
Right,
that
to
same
find those
opportunity
people.
to find those people. So maybe we'll do that.
Yeah, I've done that. I'm friends with some people, and it's weird because you do see so much, and people's kids and whatnot, where it's like you feel like you still know them, but you don't know them, and it's kind of like I don't even know if I would. I know their kid's name, but would I say hi to them if I was passing them at the grocery store? Kind of one of those things. But that's kind of not the greatest thing about social media. I feel like too. But yeah, it's kind of interesting. But
So now we go. You had mentioned in junior high, and then going from Mankato East to Mankato West, and you had talked about some of the reasons you were doing that, bullying, etc. Would you mind explaining a little bit more about what that was, or?
awful.
Well, obviously the bullying is never
Yeah,
good.
no.
but-
So a weird thing happened about some list of girls and their appearances. It sounds weird. I made the top of this list for I don't know what reason because I was very gangly and awkward looking at this time. And I got picked on because it was a boy. You would know who he is. I'm not going to name his name. A brother of a boy in our class. And some of his friends. And I just kind of got picked on for it. So I went to go sit down at the lunch table or the little cafeteria tables, whatever. And my friends didn't like this and got up and left and couldn't eat with them, wouldn't talk to me. And this whole like bullying campaign and even like AOL Instant Messenger where it was kind of like that.
Brand new, basically.
Yeah, but you could hide behind screen names and still message other people. And that was really big during then. And like the stuff that was said to me about me was awful. And I ate alone. And I was actually in competitive dance with Dance Express. And so a lot of my friends there had actually gone to West. And so they're on my competition teams and whatnot. So friends I've had, like Chantel Johnson's a friend of mine. I've been friends with her since I was 3.
Yep.
And so she was at West and a bunch of other people too. Then I kind of hung out with them and then my dance friends and then other people. And that was a big reason for me switching. So my parents asked if I could walk home, if they'd make like an exception for that. And they said no. So I'd either eat in a bathroom by myself or with the health teacher.
So what I find really interesting, you brought up AOL Instant Messenger, because I haven't thought about AOL Instant Messenger in 25 years. But that was like this, like all the social media stuff that we're dealing with now of like cyberbullying.
Yeah.
Like, it used to be when we were in like, let's say, 4th grade, if you had a problem with somebody, like you figured it out on the playground.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like you said it to their face, and you had to have enough gumption to say it to their face.
Yeah.
Or you like, talked behind their back maybe to somebody else, but it wasn't to the masses. Right?
Yeah, spread so far and wide, and how easy it was to spread a lie.
Yes.
Or just make stuff up and then be so hurtful to people. And it's so much worse now, which like I'm very worried. I'm very thankful I have a boy for what girls do. And I mean, boys can be mean too, but I do worry a lot about my son's name is Jackson and like what the world he's going to grow up in and what that's going to be like. And because it's so easy now and all the different social media platforms and all the terrible things you hear that other people do. And like, even there's young kids that commit suicide and stuff like that because of the bullying. And so, yeah, AOL Messenger was just kind of the start of it, but you did have like that, you could hide behind the screen name and then you didn't really know who it was, but the dial-up and all that kind of stuff. And
the dial-up.
you remember the dial-up?
Oh my God.
Or whatever the
Yeah. Bing, bing. Yeah.
But yeah, I remember that. But like my mom, our computer was in our kitchen, so it wasn't like a private space. She could openly see what we were doing and still. And I remember all of that and trying to figure out like who is this person, and something would pop up and then see it. But I went from used to have to like talk to them or even passing notes, which wasn't. But now it's as easy as a text or post online and to the masses of people. And you mentioned social media before, but like I keep my social media, my personal stuff very, very small. If I probably wouldn't say hi to them in public, I'm not friends with them. Big part of that is keeping my son private.
Yeah.
Just people may know me. I don't really post his photo. I don't think anyone's ever seen like a full-faced photo. Maybe Christmas I posted one, but just some privacy for him and kind of stuff that we do and whatnot. But I worry about that, like, people seeing photos and whatnot. I was at, before I became a mom, my brother has a son who's 9, and I used to post pictures of him all the time, and Mike, my brother, and his son and I were all at Lowe's. I don't know what we were doing, but we were getting something. I think we were working on a flip house or something. It doesn't matter. Anyway, so somebody walks up and they go, "Oh my gosh," that's my nephew's name. And my brother is like, "Who is this? Like, how do they know my son?" And I was like, "Oh, because they're friends with me on Facebook. They see pictures." And Mike's like, "That's creepy." And I'm like, I didn't even think about it. You're not wrong.
Yeah.
And so I think about that now too. And I don't know how you were with your kiddos. And like, I just try to keep them kind of protected. We live in a very strange world with a lot of weird people. So.
And so my thing right now, like I don't go on Facebook at all. I literally go on Facebook to post the episode of this podcast. And that is the extent of what I do.
Yeah.
Because I have a hard enough time, like, just mentally going through a normal day of just, like, keeping my own straight.
Yeah.
And making sure that I'm being a dad and a husband and I was going to say dad and father, husband, but, like, a business owner. And, like, I have enough going on.
Yep.
I don't need somebody else's baggage to read about the
Or
bad
their
day
highlight
they had.
reel, though. But a lot of it's a highlight reel.
Yeah, about
where
how
it's
great
like,
their day was.
Look at how
whatever.
perfect everything is and whatever. And it's, I agree with you. I see people's stuff and I'm like, I know that's bullshit. Like, why don't we cut the world and actually call bullshit what it is? But I agree. Like, if my business wasn't so heavily driven based on social media, I was kind of one of the first realtors kind of get out there with the Facebook page. I think that's why I've built up this awesome following that I have. It's very humbling. Like, I have 12,000 people that follow me. I'm not that cool or interesting, but I think they like looking at houses, and sometimes I do little funny videos and whatnot.
Yeah.
Hopefully they listen to this.
Yeah.
But if my business wasn't so much on social media and people seeing my posts and needing it even to promote my properties and my business for my clients, I would not probably be on social media.
Yeah. So this is really interesting. I haven't thought about this in a very long time.
Okay.
Let's just bring this up. So when I was a freshman in college, so this is 2005, 2006, and this is right when like Facebook was starting. Like this was
You had to log in with your college.
Yes.
They're only letting certain colleges.
Yes,
Yep.
correct. So this is like the very beginning of Facebook, which is really interesting because it's like your and my generation were the first, and it was only like a 5-year span of people that were the very first to get on there, and then
Yeah.
then it just exploded. But you bring up how like the fakeness, oftentimes of people posting just perfect lives, and not like it's very easy to fall into the trap of look at how great everybody else's life is and mine sucks. And I had this happen, and I vividly remember this. I don't know if I've told this story in a very long time, or maybe even I don't even know if Lisa, my wife, knows this story. But so freshman year, first semester, I had a blast, outstanding time, and then the second semester happened, in which I didn't even anticipate because you're a freshman in college, you don't know what's going to happen.
Right.
But like all your classes change. And so now it's like the friends that you just made, these new friends, are now all of a sudden in a different class. Well, then now all of a sudden your schedules are different and things change. And like one of my really fun guys named Jake from Owatonna, he ended up like he either changed schools or just quit going to school or something. I mean, it was just like everything changed the first semester, transition into second semester. And I remember like this really sucks. Like I had another really good friend that got a girlfriend and like didn't see him anymore. And like, so all this stuff, I'm like, all those fun friends that I had such an amazing time with for, however many months, it's not like, it was a lifetime of friendship, but it was a big deal to me at the time because you're out from mom and dad and the house, and like you're on your own and you're trying to figure out when to do laundry so you don't smell terrible all the time. But I vividly remember that. Like, I would be on Facebook, and I thought to myself, I'm like, wow, look at how much fun everybody else is having.
Yeah.
And I had like a month span in second semester where I just like, I'd go to class, and I'd come back, and I'd sit in my dorm room. And that was not normal for me. Like, going to class was sometimes not normal either, first semester. But like, I vividly remember that. And then all of a sudden, it clicked in my head. I'm like, no, this is stupid. I'm sitting here doing nothing. I got to go out and do stuff. That is, did those things happen that I'm watching on Facebook? Yeah. But there's also 99% of their other life that they didn't show on there, And I vividly remember that. And I haven't thought about that in years.
Yeah.
And bringing that up is like, I think that's a hard thing for some people. It's it's almost like it's just depressing.
Yeah.
Looking at stuff like that.
I agree with you though. So like one of my best friends, Jake Dobson, he went to Eau Claire, and he, Jake.
I know Jake
And
very
he
well.
met so he went with Adam Nelson. I don't know if another friend of I don't know if they'll listen to this, but maybe another friend of ours or not. But they all went to Eau Claire, and they had this group of guys and these group of girls, and they all partied and had so much fun. And obviously we were friends, and Jake and I have been best friends for years.
Yeah.
And I remember always looking, and I had a good group of people that I met freshman year. I roomed with my best friend Meredith. We met one of our best friends now, Tasha, on the same floor. The same day, I met one of my best friends, Ryan, kind of passing through, talking, whatever. And Lindsay, a friend of ours, was on the same floor. So we were able to have friends kind of on the floor, not so much classes, because we were engaged when it was still there. But and kind of met people there. And my boyfriend, Matt at the time, who's actually my boyfriend now, which is kind of funny. But anyways, my high school boyfriend went to Loyola, also went to college there, and he was in a different dorm. But so like Matt obviously had his friends that he had met from over in his dorm. We have our friends from high school, and then I had the people I met. But I remember seeing Jake, and he had like this big group of guys, and like for the whole 4 years they were always this group, and all these girls. I always did the most fun stuff. And Jake's not like a highlight reel poster. He is probably tagged in photos, probably didn't even post them. But I always thought like, I'm so jealous that he has all these friends and all of this whatever. And here I had like a good little group of my people too. But it's like you look at these like the highlight reel of stuff, and it's like, that looks so much fun. Why don't we have cool parties like that? Why don't we ever? And like, we'd go and visit and experience the parties and stuff. But it's so easy to look at somebody else's and think, what about that? But that's sad to hear that you had kind of that moment, like staying back and kind of, I would say, depression. Maybe?
Yeah, is probably as close as I could ever like really admit that I was in like
Yeah.
that state of
But
mind.
I think that happens to a lot of people, like the piece of social media and the highlight reels and the whatever, like not to get too completely off topic whatsoever, but like this thing that's going on current now, you probably know nothing about it. Like Khloe Kardashian had a baby, has a beautiful body. Somebody posted an Photoshop photo of her. They've sued everyone to try to get it taken down. She looks amazing, but it's not photoshopped. It's not perfect. So it's this unrealistic standard of beauty that she herself doesn't even live up to. These photos that she's posted is suing people, threatening if they don't take it down, whatever. But she's put up this standard of beauty that she doesn't even live up to. So how many people, little girls, again, partially why I'm very thankful I don't have a daughter.
Yeah.
But because of this social media and this fakeness of this world, I mean, all the filters, all the face tunes, all of the apps on your phone to make you look 30 pounds, whatever, skinnier. And it's like, this is a prime example of like what it's doing to other people. How many people are probably like, I'm never going to look like that. I'm never going to work out. It's like, she doesn't even look like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, but it's, they've spread this cancer in people's minds of like looking a certain way, and it can translate to so many things, like the way people look or what people have. People love to, try to floss or be like, look at me, I'm balling on whatever, when it's like they're working 2 jobs to be able to afford their payment on their Lexus. I don't know. I'm making something up at this point, but
No.
but it's like they're trying to show kind of something that it's not, and like,
Yeah.
look at me, when it's like, what's the full picture of it? You're looking at this much of a big photo, and
Yeah.
so it's just kind of interesting how that can all kind of skew stuff. And
When it's like happiness is not a car, or it's
No.
not like.
I
Sorry to pick
tried.
on you,
Okay,
a
I was
house.
very,
It's
very.
Not, it's not.
I was
a
very
thing.
depressed. I tried to buy happiness.
Yeah.
I will tell you right now, it does not work. I was just like, I felt like there was a hole in my soul, and I was trying to fill it with something. So I built the house by you.
Yeah.
I sold that house for $700,000. I didn't even live there 2 years. I rented it out after a year.
Yep.
And I just wasn't happy. And I'm saying the $700,000 not as a brag or a flex, but to give you an idea, you cannot buy happiness. I was miserable, but I tried to buy it with the shoes, the bags, all this type of stuff. That doesn't matter. And literally, like, I'm a Christian, and people say, like, kind of where did that come from? Because I wasn't growing up. And I always say, well, I wasn't really looking for God. God found me. And until literally I had that where I accepted Christ as my Lord and Savior to fill that hole, I felt whole versus having that open in my soul and like emptiness and depression. Like I was extremely depressed in a horrible part of my life. No one knew it. I put up the front. I was the person I hate on social media. Like, look how great my life is. Here's me smiling. Boom, sold another house. Ooh, sold 150. Mankato's best realtor, 30 under 30. And I was fucking miserable. Well, it's true.
is
Like
so
I can get
awesome.
so many of these. I
That
can
is
get so many different
so awesome.
accomplishments
Yeah.
trying to do so many different things. And it's like none of that ever made me happy. It was like, oh, this is cool, and like trying to like, okay, so I've got these accomplishments. What do I need to do to get happy to whatever? And literally, it's why I think like God saved my life.
So explain how that process worked from where you were till it sounds like you're much happier and much
I'm really
more
good
whole
now. I will talk about this. I've never talked about this, but I'll talk about it. I was very close to killing myself. And I was so depressed on so many different just things. And if you looked at my life, you would be like, she has everything. I had I still have a really great career. Height of my success, #1 realtor, top 30 in the nation, under 30, top female realtor in the Minnesota, sells 150 deals a year, drives this car, has this house. I was so deeply sad. And I was about to kill myself. And I heard God speak to me. And around that same time, I actually happened to have clients. I've never spoken about this. You can keep this on here too. Hopefully it helps somebody. I had clients that were coming to Mankato to start a church. And if you knew me before, I was agnostic. I was like, show me realist, whatever. You can't see it. It's not there, but maybe it's there. I would not say I was atheist at all, but I was like, people would be like, I'll pray for you. And I would say, thank you. I'll take all the prayers I can get. I didn't pray. I didn't really have, I knew there was a God, but I wasn't like, godly. And I did a lot of bad things. But anyway, so my clients coming to town, Matt and Rachel, were starting a church, and it was called Canvas Church. And they had inquired about a house that was really shitty. And this sounds shitty. I normally wouldn't have even taken it as a client because I was so busy. Where it's like I probably would have passed it off like a $50,000 house. They were coming from an area, did not know the market, whatever. And I was just like, whatever, like I don't have time for this. And something in me was like, no, you're taking those clients. And so I reached out. I'm like, okay. Ended up talking to them. We found them not a shit house, and they found a perfect house. And but then they were telling me about this church, and I'm like, okay, that's great. I'm going to be politically correct and polite because I'm working and whatever. But whatever you want to do, I'm all about whatever people want to do unless it affects me. I don't care. Do you? What doesn't matter. So I'm like, that's great. And they're like, yeah, like you should come. And I'm like, maybe. There's a picnic. Okay, great. I was like, I'm not going. And then it just got brought up, and then like little things would happen, and it's like timing stuff would, and I'm not a big a coincidence person, but it was just like signs of stuff. And I think if you look for signs, you see them, and just different signs of stuff. And around the same time, then they ended up buying a house, and the house they bought, I had done a CMA, which is a comparative market analysis, tell people the price. The lady was very different. So she, as we're walking through the house, this was before Matt and Rachel, but probably about 6 months before, actually, the lady was like, yeah, your dad told me to call you. My dad died when I was 17. So I was like, oh, I don't know if that's really true because my dad passed away several years ago. And she's like, I know. And I'm like, okay, well, that's different. Sure. Cool. Super weird. And I was like, all right, that's probably one of the, I've had some strange happen. That's up there for some of the strangest shit. And then they end up buying this house, and so that house ended up getting sold to a friend of mine. They wanted to set it as a rental. They wanted to sell it, and I was like, I have the perfect people for this house. And so I facilitated the transaction. I did it for free because I don't do that a lot, but sometimes I just was like, it's perfect. If I have a commission, it's out of your budget. It's on me. Comp it. I feel good about this. Fine, whatever. So I took care of it. They got a great house. It's perfect for them and their boys and whatever. And around the same time, again, like super unhappy. And no one would know it if they look at me. They'd have no idea. And so I had a very bad moment. I had some pills, and I was about to be like, I'm done. And it's, if you've never been to that dark place, you don't understand it. And looking back now, I'm like, that is, I didn't want to die. I just didn't want to be where I was. And I heard God. And I was like, this is weird. This is the weirdest thing.
What did he say?
I don't want to share that.
Okay.
But so anyways, I was like, okay. Then I'm like, next day was like the picnic, I want to say. So I'm like, I'm just going to go check this out, whatever. And what's super cool, so I'm babbling about this, but so Canvas is super cool. I'm a very laid back person. Most of the time I have my hair in a high pony and ripped jeans. I'm not a very formal person. The church isn't like you dress up in a Sunday best because that's just not my thing. It's not a huge church. They're small. They had a women's group. And so I went. And I was like, okay, Matt. He's like, well, you should come. Opening day. I'm like, sure. I'm going to come. I'm going to sit in the back. I don't want you to call me out. Not that I think you would, but we don't need any mention. If I dip out, don't take it offensively, but I will come and see what this is about. Because I haven't been to church since my grandma passed away because we had to go for Christmas and other holidays. And that was
how long
extent
ago
of
had
it.
that been?
Probably 10 years.
Okay.
So it just wasn't my thing. And I was I loved it. And this feeling over my body and the music, and I loved just seeing the people worship and knowing these are other kind of broken people.
We're all broken people.
Correct. Yeah. And just here and literally give it to God. And it's just I've been so unbelievably blessed and fortunate. And I try to give blessings to other people because I know that I've been blessed. So I plan to leave this world giving more than I've taken. But it's just amazing, looking back and all the things God's done for my life that I didn't even know he was doing. And the people praying for me when, some people told me, some didn't. And to get me to this point where it's I didn't find God, he found me. And I'm so damn happy he did. And my life is so much better. And I literally on some of the other day, my life right now, I've had some shitty stuff, real bad stuff happen. But I don't regret any of it. It's gotten me where I'm here now. And I have everything I've ever prayed for. And I'm damn lucky.
So
I'm going to give that to the GOD.
Yeah. So how long ago did that transformation happen?
Oh, goodness. 7 years ago, maybe? 8 years ago?
Okay.
I want to say.
Wow. So isn't that amazing? Like I find for myself, like when people say things like God doesn't exist, I'm like, do you look around you? Like just look at what is around it. Like I love to fish. Okay, I have a serious irrational obsession when it comes to fishing. But like I've told this story on the podcast before, but there was this trip that I was up in north of Duluth in a lake called Island Lake. And it's literally Island Lake because there's a bunch of islands. And you camp on these islands. And it's a first come, first serve thing. And so I just have a tent and me and my boat. And it was amazing for like 3.5 days. It was unbelievable. But like I'm sitting there on this island. The fire that I have is cooking my supper. And I caught a bunch of fish that day. Like it was a beautiful day. Just, I mean, everything perfect. And I'm just sitting there as this storm that was going by. And thank God it didn't hit me because it was really bad. It took out like a bunch of, the storm actually split. So if you're watching it geographically, like a piece went north and a piece went south and I was in the middle.
Oh, wow.
And the north part took out, you remember like up in Ely, this is like 2 or 3 years ago, there was a storm that like took out the Girl Scouts. Like there was a...
No,
anyway.
I don't remember that. But I don't really watch the news, so full
Good.
disclosure.
Don't watch the news.
Okay.
You shouldn't do that. But
I don't.
Sorry, Lisa County. I mean national news. But the point was, it was like the serenity of that and sitting there in total quiet. I don't think I said a single word the entire day.
Yeah.
And just looking around, it's like, this is so beautiful. Like this, and the coolest part about it is you think about how amazing that particular moment in time was, or like watching my child or children, now I have a lot of them, be born. Like those moments, it's like, that's like, this is the crappiest it gets. Like salvation at the end, that's like, we can't even fathom how amazing that's going to be. And like the coolest parts here seem pretty cool.
Yeah. Like
that's what I think is so unbelievable about faith and having something that you can't see or totally understand, but still believe in just because you have like it's inside your soul. Like you said, it's like a hole inside of you that is like, it just feels like that is correct.
Yeah.
I
didn't know how to truly describe it until I was like, there was literally just a hole in like my soul that I tried filling until literally like God filled it for me. And I'm like, this is it. This is what I've been missing. And like, I see the signs, like I get it. And like, I'm big on signs and different stuff. And I think like, you know, like the God winks, like some people call them, and like just silly stuff. Like April 3rd is the anniversary that my dad passed away. And so I always get sad. And so I was kind of having my little, moment. And I was out on my porch and I saw a cardinal. And it was like around like the time that I found out my dad passed away. And I was just kind of like, eh. And like, so I look out and there's a cardinal. And they say cardinals are people that pass, kind of whatever. And it's just one of those things where it's like, this is like, God's so good. And I'd spent several years like really angry that happened to me, that my dad died, until like I had to shift my mindset. And like I had 17 years with that man. I know without a doubt in my mind, he loved me. I have such great memories. Like I'm so fortunate to have had that and to have that still, and like still know like, somebody asked me the other day, what would your dad think about all this? I actually know, because we had such a close relationship that I could probably tell you what my dad would say about current stuff, because we were so close and had such a strong relationship. And it's just like, I'm very fortunate for that. It took a little while for my mindset to not be like, poor me, why me, how'd this happen? I'm pissed at God, I'm pissed at all of this, to shift and be come from a thankful place in my heart.
So I remember when Leanne told me that Russ, right?
Yep.
Your dad, Big Russ.
Yeah.
Right? That's how I remember him. I could be wrong.
No, Russ, yeah.
Yeah. So I remember when Leanne told me that, and at that point, like I was a few years younger than you, but like I knew your dad a little bit. I didn't really know your dad that well. So explain to me, like what is it like to? I mean, you don't have to answer this if you don't want to, but like as a 17-year-old, that's a really tough time to lose a parent, especially one that you have such a relationship with.
Yeah. I knew that my dad was terminal.
How did he pass, by the way? I don't remember.
He ended up having cirrhosis of the liver.
Okay.
And so his livers failed. He went to Rochester. He had some blood transfusions and dialysis and whatnot. He ended up getting ammonia in his blood through a transfusion, which is like a medical up, from my understanding. And then we transferred him to Abbott in the cities, and it was kind of beyond to the point. So he couldn't get a liver transplant. My uncle had volunteered to get tested. I was too little. Mike, my brother, was going to get tested for it. And they basically said, like, no, ammonia in blood, like, just fucks you up. So, like, he couldn't even really tell you, like, his name and a lot of stuff. It was awful. And my dad was a very prideful man. He always, like, was super put together, always matched, always, like, he played racquetball and had, like, the socks that matched the wristbands and, like, the headband. And, like, everything was just on point. And it was just really bad. Like, he was not himself. And so I drove every day to Rochester or to Abbott. I actually didn't have to repeat 1 year because my principal at West, his wife had just passed away from cancer. And he somehow made it so my teachers only graded me on attendance for the days I was there. I still got my homework and stuff done, but I was kind of like, well, I would rather spend time with my dad. Like, it's just a weird mental state, too. Like, I knew it was going to happen. I didn't think it was going to happen. Like, the day he died, I was sitting in class. So when we had planners to write everything down. And on it had, like, my dad's coming to Mankato for hospice. I fully knew what that meant, fully aware. I just never thought, like, it would actually happen. The night before he passed away, I was up there. And I said goodbye. I was able to say, you know, like, he couldn't talk. He was just laying there. But I was able to, like, say, like, you don't have to fight for me and Mike. It's okay. Like, you can let go. We're going to be okay. Wow. We'll be fine. And so I was able to say that, which I'm very thankful for. Watching him die in front of me was awful because I didn't recognize him. And just, like, bodily functions and just different stuff was just really bad because he didn't have control over a lot of that stuff. And he didn't look like himself and confused and, like, couldn't, like, hold a dialogue and whatnot. So that was really hard. And then I just got to the point where I was just real pissed that this could happen to me and that how could God do this? And, like, there are pieces of shit out there that get in car accidents, kill people, who drunk drive all the time. And then my dad, like, casually drank. So technically he died from being an alcoholic, which took me a very long time to finally say that. But he wasn't, like, the classic, like, super wasted all the time. I used to get way more drunk than my dad ever did. He just drank beer like I drink Diet Coke. And it just took a toll on his body. But he wasn't, like, a raging drunk who was, like, mean or whatever. But so I was like, you know, there's people who get in car accidents, driving 3-point or whatever the pointing system is, how many DWIs and killing all these people. And my dad was a great man, helpful man, you know, a good business person, he did a lot for the community. And it's like, why? And, like, there's so much anger there too, and to God about, like, why would this happen? And so that was really hard. And again, I was 17 in a bad kind of age. And my mom, my parents had divorced by this point. Because my mom actually asked my dad to go get treatment or move out, and my dad moved out. And if you know anything about alcoholism, it's a disease. My dad didn't choose alcohol purposefully over his family. He was literally sick. It's like a cancer. And it's hard to not understand that fully. So there's a lot of anger there. And then he told me, like, that he was sick and that it was terminal. And basically there's nothing they could do. And I heard him. I thought I understood it, but then I was, like, hit by a f***ing Mack semi. Like, it just was like, holy shit, like, that actually happened. I remember, like, so Jake, I came back to class. My mom, they called me out of class. My mom was there with the counselor. And when I saw my mom, I knew. So I just walked up. My mom's standing there crying. Counselor's there. And I just, like, see her, and I just turned around and started walking back. So she ran after me, and she told me, okay. And so then it was, like, towards the end of the period. So I went back to class to get my stuff. And I sat down, and, like, literally the bell rings. And Jake's like, what's wrong? I said, my dad died this morning. And I was just like, what? And Jake's like, okay, oh my God, we need to go. You've got to go home. I'm going to bring you home. So, and then he's like, you need to eat something, because it was, like, lunchtime. So Jake got me, like, Quiznos, because there's Quiznos by West still then. And kind of made sure I got home and was with me, and he's like, you can't be alone. He's one of my best buddies. And then I remember, like, I was like, how do I call because my boyfriend Matt was at Loyola, and I was like, I should tell him. So I think Jake maybe called him and told him, and like he came over right away, and like my friends came over to like make sure I was okay. And I just remember it was like this blur, and like the next day I'm having to pick out Bible or like songs or whatever for his program at Woodland, and like picking out caskets. And then I'm like, what the do I even wear? Like it's just like such a blur. And then you go and like you could tell me you were at my dad's funeral and I wouldn't know if you were or not. They said they've never seen so many people. We had so many flowers. We donated them all to all like nursing homes and stuff, and I think hospitals. But they were like, we've never seen like this many people. And it's like just such a blur to me. Like I've had people like, oh, I was there and I remember it. I'm like, I'm very sorry. I don't remember it. It's so like blocked out of my mind. And just like all the events of that day, and just it was a couple years it took me to like change my perspective of it. So I do like, and when someone else's like parent or something passes away, like just because I went through it, I don't know the right thing to say. I have no fucking special magic words that are going to make you feel better. And I feel like people think like, because you've been through it, you know, and it's like, I don't know at all. I will pray with you. I will pray for you. I will be there with you. I will get you food, what you need. Like I'm a get shit doneer. So you tell me what you need, I'll get it done for you. I'll follow up with you regularly because, you know, once the funeral and stuff's done, everyone goes on with their life. Your life still sucks. So I'm good at like the follow up on that. But it's like there's no magic thing to say. I'm like, the only advice I ever give is don't spend years being mad. Try to switch your mind to the positive and be like the thankful piece of it, and be thankful for the time you were with them and the amount of love like you had with them and the memories you've had with them. Not thinking like my dad didn't see me graduate high school. My dad didn't see me graduate college. My dad didn't walk me down the aisle when I was married. My dad didn't see me leave that piece of shit. You can keep that in there. He'd been proud of me, you know, but like, you know, stuff like that. You know, he hasn't seen me become a mom and him become a grandpa. He hasn't seen me be the happiest I've ever been. He hasn't seen, like, my dad was in real estate. He'd be damn proud that I had all these silly accomplishments. None of that. And so, like, never saw, and I was pissed about, like, he didn't have any of these, you know, huge moments in my life. But it's like I did have, you know, 17 years with him, and that's what I'm going to focus on. And like I said, I know, like, what he would say about different stuff. And so it's like I can carry that with me, and I know he's watching and so fucking proud of me.
How old was he? How old was he when he passed?
I knew you were going to ask me that. So he was born in 55.
Okay.
He was born 1046. October 7th, 1946, and died 4302, April 3rd, 02. So what's the math on Tony? Got a calculator?
I don't think anybody can do mental math.
I want to say like 55-ish, maybe.
Wow. Yeah, that is, I just remember that being like, again, when you're young enough, you don't really understand the gravity of stuff, you know? But I remember that being a very big deal, especially in our little neighborhood. It was like the Kennedy neighborhood, you know?
Yeah.
Everybody knew who
developed
everybody
that whole
else
area.
was. Yeah.
And like
everybody knew who everybody was.
I mean, it's awesome. Like, I have sold houses in like the VanEman subdivision, whatever. I've sold houses he's built. I run into people that tell me stories and, you know, about him. And like, so like, you know, my son knows who he is. My son's middle name is Russell for my dad. And so, yeah, keeping that legacy alive and, you know, the memory and trying to keep him as present in my life as I possibly can is kind of the best I can do. But yeah, it was wild. I did have somebody, so this is funny, that was like, God, I haven't seen your dad for, how long has it been? Like 10 years? I'm like, what was he doing 10 years ago? Like, not, you know, time is so silly, but it was pretty funny. But yeah, it's cool hearing stories and running into people that knew him and just kind of learn it, like hearing little different things randomly still. And it's been a while now. So I've lived more than half my life without him than I did with him.
That's got to be a unique realization when you think about that.
It was weird. On the 17th anniversary, which was a couple years ago, it was kind of like, this is the halfway point. Like, you know, but I was when I'm like a baby, I don't remember it, but my parents loved like taking videos. So, I have a bunch of like home videos and stuff, which is cool. And like to hear my dad's voice. And he always called me Angela, which no one does unless I'm like, my mom's like pissed at me or something. So it's just kind of funny. So it's, you know, hearing his voice and whatever. So my aunt put them on DVDs for us, so we watch them every
Sweet.
Christmas.
Yeah, that's got to be
And they're
cool.
kind of silly. They're like me opening presents and my
Yeah.
dad, and like or me swimming on a pool and or at a park and stuff. But it's just cool to like see.
Well, it's to
his
hear
voice and stuff.
their voice.
Yeah.
Like, for people that have the family members that have passed of mine, it's not necessarily like seeing them and their mannerisms is cool, but like you can kind of remember that. It's the voice that I think that you
I agree with you.
forget the most because
I agree with
it's
you.
hard to remember their voice. You can picture them a little bit in your head, but it's the voice that's the big difference.
Yeah.
And that's stuff that I think is just I have this idea that I should do finally, but so I have all 4 grandparents that are still living.
You're very lucky.
Yes, and thank you. And so what I really want to do is I want to, without telling them what the questions are, I want to videotape them.
Do
Actually,
it.
Tony, we should get them here. That's a good idea. And I'm just going to ask them questions like, who are your siblings? Where did you grow up? What was something you did for fun in 1956?
You should do that before you run out of time.
You know, that would be so amazing to do. The hard part is I've pushed both of them to do it, and they're worried about not getting the questions right.
Oh my gosh.
Like they want every question like prepared for months before so they can think about them. I'm like, guys, this is a dialogue. Like if you
Yeah.
don't remember what your great uncle's name was, like we'll skip that and we'll fill it in
Yeah.
later. Like it's okay. Don't worry
Or even
about
like
it.
words of advice or like what's the best life lesson or something that you would tell your younger self.
Yes.
You know, like I love like older clients, like
Yes.
grandparents. I had a little lady I talked to this morning and like she's like 85.
Yes.
I love old people and just like the wisdom they have and yeah, it'd be really cool.
Yeah.
You should definitely do that before you.
Tony,
it's
we're
too
going to
late.
do that. We're going to have them.
And who
in
cares
here.
if you have to give them the questions? Then what you do is you throw in zingers.
That's exactly right. You'll give them like 20 questions and
yeah.
we'll just go off
Give them
on
like the
some
names
tangent.
of people so they can
Yeah.
research that. Know
Yeah.
like Uncle Donald is second
Yeah.
cousin
Yeah,
or whatever.
yeah, yeah.
But then throw in the like what words of wisdom? What's your best memory?
Yeah.
That'd be cool.
Yeah, that would be really fun. And so I should definitely do that. So now, Matt, do that. When I'm watching this back, I'm going to
Siri?
schedule that. Yes. Hey,
Alexa?
That's exactly right.
I'm
Make that.
not an Alexa or Siri person, but
So, okay, so now, and I appreciate you sharing that with me.
Yeah.
That is something that even to this day probably can't be very fun to talk about, but it's, like you said, you've turned that in, I think, from what was you perceived as a very negative thing now to a more positive thing.
yes.
Not that your dad
Not
thing is a positive
positive,
thing.
but like it just
Spinning it positively, I
yeah.
guess.
And my whole thought kind of on sharing stuff and if I can help one person who's maybe going through something and they're like, you know what? I never really thought to look on the positive sides or like come from a thankful heart versus like pissed because pissed is really easy to do
It is
and be
easy.
like just mad at the world. That was me for years. But try to change your mindset and your thinking on it and appreciation and and gratitude. I think makes things a little bit easier. So if I can help one person going through whatever, there we go.
That's a good way to look at it.
That's all I can do.
So you're now in college. You go to MSU.
I went to MSU, yep.
Yep. So what'd you graduate with?
Okay, I have a degree in mass communications, emphasis public relations, and my minor is technical communications.
What does that mean?
It's a great question. It's the only minor I could find that I could get done in one semester. I wanted a marketing minor,
Okay.
but the way the MSU program at the time, I don't know if it's still like this, was set up that majors got first choice of classes, then minors did. And the classes that I needed filled up, so I would have had to take some bullshit and then do another semester. And I was like, if I like set my mind to something, I'm very determined. I was like, I'm graduating in 4 years, so find me something that I can get done in 4 years in one semester, and that is technical communications.
There you go.
Yeah, there you go.
So do you use your degree?
Not a damn. No, I don't. No.
Do you think that, like, what do you think of college right now? Is it worth going to college? Is it worth going into debt to get a degree? What's your take on that?
I am very fortunate that my mother did, both my parents, they had a college fund for me starting, probably when I was like born. My mom already has one for my son, because that's my mother. Wonderful lady. Anyways, I didn't pay for college. I have a friend who's an attorney. She is amazing. She paid for college herself. So she went to MSU undergrad. She went to University of St. Thomas. She is a lawyer. She works for like legal kind of blogging, whatever. She had opened a private practice and then she had another child and then went back to it. but I know she had like a ton of debt. So I don't know if, like for my degree, obviously it was free from Carla, but like if, $30,000 for some bull degree, maybe, but like my friend, I don't know if she'll listen to this, but my friend Kelly, like hundreds of thousands of dollars to be an attorney, and she's not currently like practicing law like in a courtroom. So I don't know. I think the experience of it, like freshman year, just being out, kind of being free, like you talked, like meeting new people, being on your own, the parties, the social scene, like that piece of it. I think the 2 years for like a general credits is kind of bullshit, but I think it's kind of pros and cons. I mean, I would not be thrilled if my son got like a liberal arts degree to the tune of $300,000 in debt for like some general, gender studies, and he has all this in debt, and you can't. I don't know if you were going in debt for a job that you make $50,000 a year, but you're $300,000 in debt. I don't think that's a smart move.
And what I find is interesting is like,
I'm trying not to offend people that are going to watch this and get hateful comments.
Well, to me, that's pretty factual. Like at a certain point, where's the financial benefit?
That's, to me, yes.
We've had a conversation, and I don't remember which guest it was, but we were talking about it on the podcast, and I've had other like clients of mine and people that I've talked to, is there's a huge shortage of people like plumbers, electricians.
Okay, my friend, I don't think I'll name them. Her husband owns a welding company. He is amazing. It's kind of hard to find other people that want to work, but they make so much money. And it's like he didn't go to a 4-year college. He learned a craft, and I think there's so many people out there. But I think so many people want to think, too, like, I have to go to a 4-year college. I have to have this piece of paper. I haven't applied for a real job in a really long time.
Yeah.
But I don't remember, like, ever it being that big of a deal, what my GPA was, what school I went to, what my degree says. And I mean, my income for my job is a lot more than I would make doing, like, PR for a company. Like I jokingly say I had a real job where it's like a 9 to 5. I had to sit my ass in the chair for someone else for that entire duration without getting fired and, monkey jump. I'm like, how high? But I remember I had worked at I was like entry level at this marketing agency because that's what I wanted to do, marketing and public relations in the cities. And then I decided to move to New York for a little bit. I was going to do marketing out there. I was like, it's going to be like in the movies. This is going to be awesome. So I like sold my shit, got a plane ticket, whatever, moved out there. And I'm like, I can literally, like, I'm going to be living in Harlem with like 7 people in a studio apartment and rats with what I'm going to be making. I don't have the personality to be like a server or bartender. So I'm like, what do I know how to do that can make a decent income before I have to like move back and like, so that's how I ended up selling real estate in New York, which is a little kind of weird tidbit, but did that for 2 years. But like public relations, any job in the cities, I was making like entry levels like $25,000 in the cities, It's like you can't do much with that.
You're living in mom and dad's basement.
Yeah.
As best as you can to get by on that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's, so what made it, like, to me, I find entrepreneurs like have a moment, not necessarily like an instant, but like a condensed version of time where they're just like, you know what, screw this. Like, I don't want to work for somebody else. I have the confidence, at least a little bit, that I'm just going to dive off the cliff and I'm going to figure this out, and win or lose, like, it's just going to happen. And like, tell me, did you have that type of realization?
Yeah. So I learned, like, my real job that I jokingly say that, like, obviously I have a real job now, but for working for someone else, my personality is, so I used to do like ad buys. So I would check off ad buys. So we had Target as a client, and they'd buy 4 ads during American Idol. And so we'd do a print off of like, okay, the Target ads ran this time during American Idol. So you literally print them off. A monkey could do what I did. And I'd just have sheets of them and have to go through. And then if it was like, okay, American Idol started at 9 and the ad ran at 8:55, it was outside the time. So you'd have to like go back and get a credit for what you paid for. So that's what I did. Some other bullshit stuff too. But anyways, I if I had like pieces of paper left at 5:00, I would still finish it, even like I'm off the clock. Or else I'd come in early to get something done if I knew we had a meeting or whatever. Like I just have always taken such pride in like what I do. Like I used to work at Culver's, and like when I would assemble a cheeseburger, like onions were perfectly placed and like the cheese was right in the top. Like the the patty was in the middle of the bun. Because it's like, this is what I'm making. And if I'm going to be a burger assembly person, be the best goddamn burger assembly person there is. Because it's going to be a really good burger. You're not going to have stuff slopped and you have to like take it off and like move it around yourself. I just have always taken pride in what I did. I've had a job since I was 15. I worked at Rainbow Foods because I could walk there from my parents' house. And I was always like, hard work was always instilled in me. Like we had to do chores for stuff. Like I wasn't really like handed a bunch of like I think a lot of people probably assume I was. So I just have always had that personality. And I always, for me, it's like the harder I work, the more I get out of it. So it's like dependent on me. And I believe in myself and I know what I can do. So piece of like being like an entrepreneur and kind of going out and like, so I'm commission based. So if I like, don't sell anything, I don't make any money. But it's like, I know if I work really hard and I get a lot of clients and I do right by them, they're going to give me referrals and tell their friends and family or write a really nice review about me. And then other people are going to come to me, and I take that very seriously, that people are entrusting me on like the biggest purchase of their life, or else they're giving me pretty much like the most equity and saying, here's my house, here's what I have in it, get me the most return you can. And I take that extremely seriously because I want to do the best I can for all of them. Yeah. And I always say, like, if I treat someone like I hope they tell someone I did. You won't find a review about me that I treated someone like that's actually worked with me. There's people that haven't worked with me that's tried to do that. But anyways, but yeah, and so to me, it's like I just like that I can work hard and I reap the rewards of it. I also like that I have flexibility on my schedule. Like now that I'm a mom, like I usually, I have a team that helps me. I have an assistant. I have a marketing director. I have help. But I have that in place because I'm a mom first. I'm a realtor second. I'm not going to, like I stayed home with Jackson and worked from home for 2 years because I didn't want to miss him rolling over, him smiling, him saying mama, him walking. And I'm so fortunate that I was able to do that. And have those moments and that build that foundation too with him to send him off. Now he goes to daycare. He loves it. He has little friends. It's really great because he gets to play outside and have little buddies. And but nights and weekends I don't work, which is weird for a realtor because that's when people want to look at houses. But I just won't do it. I utilize other people. My mom showed a house for me at 4 today because I'm coming here. But usually I'm done at 4. I pick my son up and 4:30 on, I'm mom until 9 o'clock the next morning. And like on the weekends, it's very rare exception. Like my boyfriend Matt, we live together, and so he will like stay with Jackson and whatnot. He's with him now, but I won't take that time away.
And I remember, so my dad growing up was mortgage, and still is, does mortgages for Wells Fargo Home Mortgage. And that career, same thing, is you eat what you kill. And that allows you some flexibility. Like I remember, like if there was a T-ball game at 2 o'clock on a Tuesday, I don't even know if they have T-balls at, T-ball at 2 o'clock on a Tuesday, but you get what I'm saying. So T-ball, 2 o'clock on a Tuesday, like Brad Brozick was there. And if it was on his calendar, he was there. And I remember that as a kid. And not all parents, whether it was mom or dad, were always there. And so when Lisa and I got married, I was working at Snell at the time. Like, I was an awful car salesman. I was terrible. But like at the time, I'm like, I want to do that. I don't want to be forced to be out on the car lot when it's 97 degrees out, showing a car that I have to open up and air out because it's 2,000 degrees in there. And I'm like, I don't want to do this. This is awful. I don't like this at all. I want the freedom and flexibility to be able to do my own stuff and still be able to provide for my family and do all the things that my dad was able to do. And so starting my own business, that was the thing. I mean, I started with no clients, a computer I couldn't afford, a phone I couldn't afford, and an office that I couldn't afford. And it was just like dive off the cliff and figure it out. And I didn't make a single dollar for 3 months. Going home to my wife, who is very like, type A, like, okay, when's the paycheck coming? I remember you said this is going to be great. And I'm like, I'm having some really good appointments, honey. I promise, That was hard for those 3 months, first 3 months. It was like, I'm just calling people like, hey, guess what? I'd like to tell you about what I do. What do you do? It's like, I manage wealth for people. Nope, I got a guy by. It's like, okay, next. Okay. Hey, Bob. Like, I mean, that's a hard thing to do. But
Yeah.
I tell you what, after that third month,
Well, what's
starting
hard
the
too
fourth
is-
month, it was like it's been nothing but up from there.
But then also being younger.
Mm-hmm.
And you do have a recognizable last name. I dealt with that too. And then I had
Yep.
some people that just assumed. I still have people I think I'm my mom's assistant,
Mm.
which is whatever. I'll feel like, okay, here's her cell phone number. You can call her. I can help you with that, whatever. Like, it doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
But being younger, like I was one of the youngest realtors at the
Mm-hmm.
time. So it's kind of like, okay, you're going to trust me with your $400,000 house. You're going to trust you, like, younger look kiddos, whatever
Yeah.
to people
Yeah.
with their, investment portfolio. And it's like, for me, like, and I probably do too, like, you have to work twice as hard.
Correct.
To prove yourself. And like, I felt like I needed to prove, like, I'm not handed my clients to my mom. I would willing to bet if you asked, I think I've had about 1,000 transactions now. I bet over 50%, 75% have no idea who Carla VanEman is. Like, they probably like, oh, is that Angie's mom? But they're not like, oh, we're going to go with Angie because she's Carla's daughter. So it's like proving myself on that merit too of like standing on my own. And like, I know she set the foundation for my success, and I'm very thankful for that. And I joke, like, for such a small woman, she's got such big shoes. But it's like, for me, it was also standing myself apart, doing my own thing, and like proving myself as not just Carla's daughter, and just being Angie. So, my goal sometimes is for people to be like, oh, you're Angie's mom.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean? And so
Yep.
kind of proving that. And like, I have people that, kind of want to diminish my success because of that too. And I get it.
Yeah.
You've never met a hater doing better than me. So that's fine. But being younger and having people.
I've never met a hater doing better than me.
I haven't.
That's a great way to put it.
Well, I haven't. So, but you know what I mean? But to me, it
Totally
was
get
like
it.
being younger, like getting started. And like same thing with like real estate. I tell people ask me like, oh, it looks all fun. And I'm like, it's so much harder than I make it look.
Yeah.
I make it look really easy. You see the fun booms and the cute videos and stuff I do. I worked my ass off.
Yes.
I'd go to work at 4:30 in the morning. I'd come up at 11 at night.
Yep.
Just grinding.
Yep.
To get to where I'm at to, now be able to have a team and
Yep.
take time off to be with my son. But my mom, same thing. She would schedule in my brother and I's, like my dance, Mike's, whatever. That was first on her calendar, and
Yep.
she worked around that.
Yep.
Same thing with my dad. My dad was like the only dad that ever came to like dance recitals. But like for me, like I won't. Yeah, my son's everything comes first. I'm not going to miss anything.
And it's so rewarding as a parent
Yeah.
to just know that like the Christmas thing for like the most recent thing that's popping in my head. So for like preschool, like 5Cs, they have their little Christmas pageant thing,
Yeah.
which is just a bunch of kids banging on, stuff. And it's obnoxious, but it's just cute to watch all these kids, yay Jesus. And so like, I remember just coming in there for the first time. First, I felt really old because now I'm like, I'm the dad
Yeah.
now, instead of like, I don't feel that
Yeah.
old, but it was just really cool and rewarding as a parent to be like, you know what, this was on my calendar and I made it work, and I can still be productive. I can still make money. I can
Yeah.
still produce and provide for my family, but I can still be the dad that walks in and says, yay Isla, yay Merrick, yay Owen, or Greta now, who's 9 months old and will eventually get there too.
Yeah.
But that, and I think a little bit too with all of the like the COVID and shutdown and all that stuff, like I think there's been a little bit of change in people's behavior as to like, we couldn't be so busy, so we were together as a family more. And maybe not everybody, but at least for me, it's like I just started slowing down, not only physically, like where I was, but mentally, and
Yeah.
being like enjoying, like I'd come up from the office, which is still now in my basement, that I'm not at all the time. I get to go to my office now, my normal office too, but just like coming up at 4:00 and like, okay, now it's time to hang out with the kids in the middle of July.
Yeah.
And like go play soccer or just like
Yeah.
stupid stuff, that they all probably forget about. They thought it was outstanding, It's just amazing as a parent to take the time with your children and be
Yeah.
intentional about it.
And I think being present, that's a huge thing for me. So I have full custody of my son. So it's me and just me. And so, but it's important to me, like that with my schedule too, that I don't, occasionally my boyfriend does help me out. He actually picked Jackson up today. So I'm very thankful for that. But I'm the one who drops him off. I'm the one who picks him up. I put him to bed every night. Like that's important to me and I love it. Like he still wants to snuggle and rock at night. And I'm like, absolutely, because you're 3 and pretty soon you're not going to want to rock mama.
What a
So
perfect age.
we're gonna, it's so fun. The stuff he says, he's so silly. and just funny, and just like there's so many things that I'm like, oh my God, you were such a mini me.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's good or bad.
It's
Like,
when
Lord, wait, watch out.
When your kids start saying things back to you that you know that you
He
say,
goes,
it's
really,
like,
Mom? And rolled his eyes. And I was like, fuck, I say that.
I know. You kind of like, man, wow.
Well, I was
Yeah,
like,
that
I'm
is
like,
me.
baby, say it again. So I'm trying to like get a
Yeah.
snap of it to send Matt.
Yeah.
I'm like, we're so because
Yeah.
he's just stuff that I says, but he's just funny. But he's just a sweet, caring little boy. He'll be like, Mom, I love you. And it's just like, ah! But so yeah, that's part of it too. Like growing up, seeing my parents pick their schedules. What's nice about this one too, and it's a non-negotiable for me. If I lose a client or a deal because my son has something, that's okay to me.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna not be able to pay him a bill because I lost a client that doesn't understand or respect that I'm a mom.
Correct. Yeah.
But I have a team that can help me out, so I'm
Correct.
pretty good on that. But some people, I mean, I've had people want to see houses on Christmas. You're not for me.
Yeah. Sorry.
That's ridiculous. On Easter, I had someone who wanted to look at something. I was like, nope, sorry.
So you had said a name that I had not heard or
gosh.
thought of in a very long time back at the Dance Express days, Chantel Johnson.
Yeah.
So I totally had a crush on her back in the day.
Everyone did?
Yeah. So if you market this enough, sorry, now you know Chantel. But she did she did this one dance. It was what's the name? Billy Corgan is the lead singer. Smashing Pumpkins, the Disarm song. Do you remember that dance? No.
Which one?
I do. It was amazing.
What'd she wear?
It was a solo. It was
Oh.
just whatever. But
Okay.
like that, I vividly remember because Jen was in, my
Yeah.
younger sister was in Dance Express,
Right.
so I got drug along to all that stuff,
Yeah.
which kind of I thought was dumb, but at the same time, it's like all these cute girls running around, and so that was totally, probably fine with me at that point. I'm whatever, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 10th grade. But yeah, it's funny when you said that because it literally brought me back to that
That's funny.
song, that dance. I'm like, that's when I was like sitting back there. I'm like, she's really cute.
She's still gorgeous. She just had her second child, a little girl, Ripley. So she has Riker and Ripley. Cool. And they're in Chicago right now, and she's actually moving back to Minnesota.
Oh, wow.
Which I'm hoping is public information, or else I just outed her.
Well, she'll probably
Surprise!
She'll probably see this episode.
She
and
will.
Then
She
she'll call
follows
you
me.
and she'll be
She will.
like, I totally had a crush on Matt Brozick too, but I just
I'll
couldn't
ask
tell
her.
him
I
because he
bet
was
she
too
will.
young.
I will bet you $100 to any charity you pick. Okay?
Okay.
She will watch this and she will comment.
Okay. All
Okay.
right. Okay. So we'll do that.
You pick whatever charity.
Okay.
If she doesn't, you do. If I do, you have to give $100 to my favorite charity.
Deal. Okay.
Okay.
We'll do that.
She will.
So what I find really interesting about entrepreneurship is because we were talking about like the grind of like I love the picture of the iceberg when you see there's like just the tip of it and like all the other stuff underneath it. It's like persistence, hard work, determination, perseverance, all these things, and it stacks underneath the water.
Yeah.
I mean, you talk about going to the office at
4:30.
4:30 in the morning. I mean, I remember I had to be the first one in the office. And I was the last one to leave.
That's that's just my mindset as well too. First in, last out.
I just remember to me it was so odd that people wouldn't do that. But like I remember coming home, especially my first year in my business, is like pulling into the parking lot to drop my stuff off before I went home at 9:30 or 10 o'clock at night in July, which is just like kind of sunset at that point,
Yeah.
basically. Like I vividly remember that. And like what I find really fun about that grind, though, like looking back, it sucked because it was like you don't know if you're going to succeed or not. Or did you have a good day or bad day? Or it's like you're so wrapped up in that moment. But what I find so fun about that, or what I found so fun, is like you get done with the day and your mind is like exhausted
Yeah.
because you were just pushing and pushing and pushing as much as you could, and you just want to sit. It's like, oh my gosh, I just don't even want to hear a noise or to say a word or do anything. Like that exhaustion was fun. Like,
Yeah.
at the end of the day, I found that fun. Did you find that?
And
did
well,
you find
once
that
you
fun?
starts like picking up too though, and where it's like you are seeing the reward of your hard work and kind of like a little bit of success. And like I won the 30 under 30, the top 30 realtors in the nation under the age of 30.
Yeah.
After my first year of selling real estate full time.
Wow.
And so, which is kind of incredible. And so kind of seeing like all that hard work, kind of like a recognition, because it's a very sought after thing. Tons of people, like hundreds and hundreds across the nation, apply for it and only 30 get it. And so kind of seeing like a little bit of like, okay, it's working. My hard work's paying off. Like I've gotten clients or referrals. Like this is great. And like this little notoriety and a little bit of success, which is cool. Like no one in Southern Minnesota has ever gotten it but me still, which I hope someone else does soon. But so just kind of cool. But then I had people like, oh, did your mom make a phone call? I'm like, no, my mom isn't on the National Association of Realtors, like for the nation. But you get those people like, oh, just got lucky. It's like, I work my ass off to be this lucky, So it's kind of like one of those things, like you said, the pyramid of like, grinding and working hard, but then it's always, again, never seen a hater that's doing better than me that want to kind of diminish what you're doing.
Yeah.
And for me, I used to take that really personally. And again, like I'm big on shifting my mindset on stuff. And it's like, it's insecurities of them trying to say like, why not me? Why not, not me, not me. Where a lot of people would rather do that than like be like, you know what? Congratulations. That's awesome.
Yeah.
They want to be like, why am I getting this much success? And for me in the industry now, like I don't like really compete with anyone. I try to outdo myself, but not other people. I truly believe there's enough, honey for all the
There's enough
bees
business.
or bees for the honey or however that saying goes. There's enough out there for everybody. When I see somebody doing great, like when Jen True opened True Real Estate, I sent her flowers. I said, congratulations, this is awesome. She's my competition, but she's my friend.
Yeah.
I'm proud of her. That's awesome. She stepped out on her own. She's doing great. She knows that. I've told her that.
Yeah.
And so it's just kind of like, people want to see too, like we joke about this. We talked about having lunch or whatever, and we should take a selfie because people want to expect us to hate each other or whatever. And we don't. And so it's just funny, but even especially too being women, strong women, business women, successful women, people want us to be these ruthless bitches who hate each other, and it's just not who it is. But I get people who meet me, they're like, you are so different than what I thought you would be or who people said you were. And I'm like, Thanks. Wow. I'm like, okay, sure. I mean, I don't know. I think I'm pretty easygoing. But maybe I'm not. I don't know. But I get that a lot from people. But it's kind of interesting, like what people think I'm going to be like because of whatever. And I don't like the term like success because I feel kind of uncomfortable about talking about that. But just having people who they think I'm going to be if they've never met me. And then they're like, you are so different.
So
again, I'm normally like my hair is on top of my head. I'm in ripped jeans usually. Like I'm just me. I'm the same way around my grandma, or I was around my grandma, as I am around clients. Like I'm just always this way.
Yeah. So two things that
the
that
F
pop
word
up.
included.
Yeah,
in my conversations.
Two things that pop up to me is who Marcus Luttrell is?
Yeah.
Yeah. So Marcus
Matt and I watched The Prophet.
Oh, so
no, that's Lamonis. Who's Marcus Luttrell?
Marcus Luttrell is he was the lone survivor.
So
he was the Navy SEAL.
Yeah.
He did a book and all that. Okay, he's an amazing guy. So if
I was thinking
people that are
totally
listening have
different.
never heard of Marcus Luttrell, you need to know this guy.
Okay.
But he said something really cool the other day. He was on Joe Rogan, which I listen to Joe Rogan, and this whole show is like kind of a
like
Joe Rogan type show.
Yeah.
But anyway, so he said something I thought was really interesting. He said, there are people that love me and there are people that hate me.
Yeah.
And both of them are right.
Oh, for sure.
And I'm like,
yeah.
I love that line.
I do love that.
I'm like, that's so perfect. He's like, look, I'm me, and I'm trying my best. I'm trying to figure my shit out, and like I'm just trying to do it. So love me or hate me, sorry,
I always say not everyone loves me, but not everyone has good taste.
You could look at it that way. Absolutely. The other thing that I thought was interesting about what we were talking about is like when I saw, or especially early in my career, is when I saw other advisors that were way more successful than I was, I would call them and be like, hey, how did you do that? Like, how did you figure this out? Like, this is what I'm dealing with now. And what's so interesting that I found is every person, no matter,
so helpful.
They're so helpful. They want to help you. Like when I called, Joe Michaelis is a good example.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, for him to bring me in the 2 years that I spent with him, I learned more in 2 years with him than I would have learned 20 years by myself. But he took the time when I would ask him a question, he would take the time and answer it. And I would take notes, and I never made him explain the same thing twice because I was
key.
always respectful of his time.
Yeah.
And so when he would tell me something, I was taking furious notes because I didn't want to have to go in and be like, hey, what was that thing again? Oh, sorry, you're busy. Like I never wanted to do that. But I mean, I learned more in those 2 years than I could have learned in 20 years by myself. But what's so cool about it doesn't matter if it's a relationship or if it's a business thing or anything like that. If you find people that are successful and you just reach out to them, which is a little bit scary, but I've never found a person
I'm going
that's
to tell
like,
you
no,
9
don't
times
talk
out
to
of
me.
10, people are going to try to help. I have people from like across the country, whatever, that'll reach out to me and ask me questions like, how are you able to do this? And I've done a few like real estate podcasts and just different stuff where I've talked about kind of what I do, how I do it. And I'm more than happy to help. I will send people stuff like, take whatever I do, steal from the best, but make it your own.
Yeah.
So if anything that I do or whatever was working, take it, but make it work for yourself. Don't blatantly copy it. But I'll have people that, and almost every single time, unless I'm one time I was on vacation, but I'll take the time and have a phone call, and any way I can help, and like I am more than happy to do it. And I think everyone is too, but I agree with you. I think people are scared to do it.
Yeah.
But it's like, take that time. Ask, if you can even mentor them and be kind of a fly on the wall. And most people are going to say absolutely yes. I mean, people are very happy to help, and, no one gets to where they're going alone.
Yeah.
You don't.
Yeah.
And so there's always somebody else who's probably done it, paved the way. You can maybe walk on the same way, but just do something maybe a little bit different and whatever. Same thing with kind of how my mom did. Like, she had a great foundation for the house that we were able to build that's kind of, fictitiously metaphorically of our business.
Yeah.
And what we were able to take it to now for what she started. And I think there's always just people there that are so happy to help.
And I think the people that should ask and that are looking for the help, you have to get over your own ego and be able to say, I don't know.
For
I'm
sure.
not sure. I think that's the hardest thing. It's not the actual ask. I think it's that they just feel like, I can't be the one that doesn't know.
Yeah, I
It's
agree
like,
with that.
We all don't know.
Right.
There's a ton of stuff I don't know.
Right.
Like, I'm always trying to ask to just, like, and that's another reason why we started this podcast, because I find it so fun to be like, hey, look, I don't do what you do every day. Or like a recent example was Lisa County. I've never done the news.
Yeah.
I've never sat there and newscasted, I understand way more about real estate than I do about newscasting.
Yeah.
But so I'm literally asking her, what is your day deal like? Like, how does that work? And I
Yeah.
find that truly interesting.
Yeah.
And so just getting over your own ego of saying, I don't know, but I want to learn.
Humility, I think, is hard for some people, but I think
it's
humbling
freeing.
yourself to that, yeah, for sure. And like asking and like I was lucky, my mom was my mentor. She still is my mentor, but same way. I take notes on everything. If you come to my office, like, I'm not a digital kind of person. I mean, I have like appointments in there, but I handwrite notes. I handwrite
Yes.
everything. And like a student, and I listen. And I'm the same way. Like, I don't want to ask something twice. Same thing too. Like when I'm teaching something, don't ask me 3 or 4 times. Like take very detailed notes. Like, I'm busy.
Yeah.
I will explain it. I'm not going to explain it 4 times.
I'm taking the time to explain it to you.
Yeah.
Write it down.
Write it down.
Yes.
If you need to record me.
Yeah.
I don't care.
Yeah. Put record on your phone.
yeah,
We all
exactly.
Have wherever my phone is. I
Yeah.
don't know, but yeah.
But yeah, so I think it's interesting. But yeah.
Yeah. And so now, like, you move forward, you're a mom, and we talked about your son. We talked about how important that is to you. So, like, on your day-to-day is a little different today than it was. When did you start in the business?
That's a great question.
05? 05? Okay. So 15-ish years ago. No, 16 years ago. 17,
I got my
whatever it is.
license in college.
Okay.
So again, my mom paid for college, and she was like, you need to get your real estate license so you can basically, I was her bitch, where I would run around and like open doors for people, show houses if I had to, 'cause she was busy, meet inspectors, appraisers, drop off packets.
Which is a great way to learn, by the way.
For sure.
You would learn all the intricacies
Yeah,
of the
but she was like,
plumbing and
I'm
everything.
paying for your college. You are going to do this. And so my brother and I both got our license. We're both actually still licensed. Mike doesn't sell, but he has his license. So anyway, so that's why I had my risk license. And so I'd sold a couple houses by like default. And I was like, that's why when I went to New York, I was like, what else do I know how to do? Well, real estate, I've done that a couple times in Mankato. Can't be that hard. And so doing that, then coming back full time, hit the ground pretty much running, I want to say in 2005.
So you went to New York to
Yes.
give it a try. And you
Yes.
came back.
Yes.
So what was your experience like out there, positive,
I like
negative,
barely knew 2
otherwise?
people. I'm so glad I did it. I learned out who I was as like an individual, and like independence and making it on my own and doing my own thing, and just being kind of me.
Okay.
I barely knew 2 people. it was just such a grind. Like out there, you just hustle and work so hard because stuff's so expensive. I lived in a 397 square foot apartment. My rent was $22.75 a month. That doesn't include utilities. And I was in the financial district. I worked on Wall Street and lived on Wall Street. So the stock exchange was my neighbor. No, I was there. I lied about that. I was there in 2008. So I came back to Mankato 2009, 2010.
Okay.
That's what I'm thinking.
Okay.
I think 2005 I went to the Twin Cities.
Okay.
There it is.
There we go.
How old am I? But yeah, so just kind of being out there, like, I'm glad I did it. I'm glad, whatever, but I would never live there again. Now, visiting is so much different than living there. And just kind of like the people there too were younger and forging friendships. Like you had mentioned earlier too about like college, you have friends, whatever, but like this is now, it's like kind of cut through. You have different realtors that will stab you in the back while they're smiling at your face. That's not who I am.
Yeah.
I will give you the shirt off my back if you're cold, and I will be cold. That's who I am.
Yeah.
And so that was a hard pill for me to swallow, that people were so fake and not genuine and stuff. And like everything was so expensive. And so I did pretty well out there. I was always one of the top 3 leasing agents. I did a lot of sales and leasing there. And so did okay, but like even the pay was sometimes delayed, never on time. It was completely commission. I had a 50% split with my company out there. Every ad I posted was expensive and just different ways of how to do stuff. So it's just really expensive. So I kind of got sick of that, moved back home, and I lived with my mom because I had nothing. I sold all my stuff and I didn't even have a car. So my brother had an extra car that he let me drive for a little bit. I was living back in my childhood bedroom at my mother's.
Did you feel a little deflated at this point?
She was like, hi, get your ass up and get to work. And I'm like, okay. So I'm like, I know how to do like marketing and public relations, my degree. And she's like, I paid for your degree. Get to work. So I went to work and started doing some marketing stuff. So I redesigned our website. We were the first one to have a mobile website. First ones to be on Facebook. My mom was like, I'm not being on that. I'm like, we are. And I'm like, executive decision. I'm going to override you. I told our marketing gal at the time, I'm like, run this in the ad. I will deal with my mother.
Yeah.
I've said that a lot. But we're right. So it's like, it's funny. So we were like, for the first people to do a lot of this stuff.
We need that microphone
Carla.
and get her right here so she can
I
actually
can get her on
defend
speaker.
herself right now.
No, she would tell you I'm right. Yeah, we can do a follow-up with Carla.
That would be, well, you're going to have to come back now. It's going to have to be a double dose.
Oh, that would be
That
something.
would be amazing.
That'd be a ratings.
So I have to say something really cool. So this is interesting. So I've been to New York one time. It was for, I was the jazz band drummer for Mankato East, and we did a band thing over there, in New York. So, but that's not even really like visiting New York. You're just following around the bus, right? And so, which was gross because we all had to like sleep on the bus. It was nasty. Anyway, but so recently I had to go for work. This was 2019. I'm sorry, no, this is January, like the second week of January of 2020. So like before everything blows up, like right before everything blows up. So I'm down in Atlanta, and one of the speakers is like, has been born, lives still all like New York, like right downtown, never been anywhere else. All they know is concrete. They've never seen a tree. Like it's just,
there's trees in Battery Park City.
Yes, there are. But you know what I mean? Not like a northern Minnesota tree, where things are quiet. And so, long story short, is I'm talking to her about stuff, this other business stuff, and she goes, "Well, you must be from like Minnesota or Wisconsin." And I'm, right away, because I talk like a Canadian.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, I'm from Minnesota. So then we're talking about that, and I'm like, "So you've lived in New York your whole life?" She's like, "Yep, like pretty much in this little area, which she told me it's like this street and this street and whatever." I'm like, "I don't know what that means, but whatever. Okay, I'll believe you." And so she's like, the hard part is just so expensive. I'm like, if you don't mind me asking, what do you mean? And she's like, well, it's an apartment like about the size of this room, which is about the size of this room, And she said same thing. It's like the rent prices are astronomical. And I legitimately at that point, I'm like, okay, hold on just a second. I got my phone out. I'm like, I'm not trying to be rude, but I just have to calculate this. And I'm like, so your apartment's like 360 square feet or whatever it was. I'm like, my ice house is like 270 square feet. And she's like, first of all, what is an ice house? And I'm like, oh, this is going to be great. I'm like, okay, going through pictures. I'm like, see, this is what we do. And she's like, wait, you're you're not on land? I'm
Yeah.
like, no, that picture, like, we're on
You
ice.
drive
Like,
on the ice?
yeah, it's like my truck pulling the ice house, and she was baffled. Like, she goes, I can't believe you pull out basically my New York
Mm-hmm.
apartment on wheels out on a frozen lake and then sit out there and catch fish and drink beer. I'm like, that's pretty much what we do.
Yeah.
It's a great time. So I don't know a lot of people from New York, but she's an awesome gal. But that was one of the
Most like
funniest
real
things
New
ever.
Yorkers are very nice, where people want to act like it's the stigma of like people are rude in New York, and it's actually not. I think it's more people that have moved there that are not from there that try to be like, I'm from New York, like this whole persona of what they think and that are the rude, if you want to say like rude. Whereas like majority of people that are from New York are very nice people, but it's just kind of weird and like.
Yeah. It does have
It's
a
just
stigma.
a different, and it's.
Yeah.
I don't think it's really earned. I think
Yeah.
it's a stereotype that's kind of been perpetuated by other people and like the media and whatnot too.
Well,
but-
I have a business trip in about 3 weeks. I'm still finalizing the days, but I'll fly into New York and then go up through Connecticut, and then I'm going to take a ferry across Long Island Sound to Long Island, and I'm going to spend 4 days doing appointments out there. And I'm super excited to go back there, like as an adult, and
Yeah.
like watch it as an adult,
Yeah.
and ride the train as an adult, and like actually experience it.
Yeah.
Knowing that, thank God, I can come back to my home
Yep.
in Minnesota, where things make sense. But anyway, that's one of my favorite experiences of talking to anybody from out there
Yeah.
is when I'm like, my ice house is about the same size as your apartment.
Yeah.
And yeah, we drive it around on the ice.
That's pretty
But
funny.
anyway,
Yeah,
so
mine
so
was 397 square feet.
it's just amazing. Like
It's like literally my garage is bigger than that.
yes, it's unbelievable. But anyway, so my next question is, we've talked about, obviously, like we had said, growing up, it being, in your words, being Carla's and running around and doing all that fun stuff. But so now you have an established business. You've been doing this for a long time, and you're focusing on being a mom, but still being productive. You've created a team. So what's the next step? What's the next goal, or what's the future of Angie VanEman, whether it's a person or not, like it's, like personally or professionally?
Yeah, I mean, I'm very fortunate that we kind of restructured our company about 4 years ago. And to have it the way it's set up, like we're small by design. We won't just take anyone that wants to be a realtor or has a real estate license.
But you
That's
took
not-
Zach.
He's a great agent.
Just kidding. Sorry,
But
Zach.
yes,
I'm totally
and
kidding. I'm
he
totally
does,
kidding.
He does so well.
I'm totally
We're-
kidding.
I
Yes,
know,
he
but
does.
we're very
Yes,
proud of him.
yes,
He's
I
great.
do. I do know that. I'm sorry. I was just
we do
totally
make
kidding.
exceptions. So like, but he wanted to learn. He
Yes.
takes it very seriously. It's his
Yep.
career. Where there's some people that are like, if I could sell a couple houses on the weekend, I have a real job. So if you want to try to get a hold of a realtor, they're at their real job,
Mm-hmm.
They do it part-time. They don't know pricing. They don't know how to write purchase agreements, especially in this market. Like stuff's moving so quickly.
Mm-hmm.
Time is of the essence, and that needs to be dealt with immediately.
So super quick. Sorry, I
you're
just
fine.
have to interrupt you because I saw a statistic today, real estate statistic.
Oh, this will be good.
That I'm like, I have to bring this up, and
Okay.
it just popped in my head because I'm kind of like a squirrel type person. So average. So this is, I think, nationwide, but there was a statistic, and I wish I remembered where I got it from. It's in my notebook at home. My research team brought it up to my attention, but so. Usually there's somewhere between like 1 million to 1.2 million homes on the market at this point of the year on average, and there's somewhere like 500,000 right now.
Oh, it's a feeding frenzy.
So
It's
when you
such a
talk about
seller's
things
market
like
now.
boom, like I don't remember if we were taping
what
or
you did
not.
there.
You
like
see,
that.
yeah, I'm trying to advertise a little bit for
thank
you
you.
along
Yeah,
the
I
line.
love it.
But I don't remember if we were talking online or offline before we started recording, but you had talked about like someone will put a house on the market and it's like, hey, this is going to come on the market Saturday, and there's like half-hour appointments booked throughout the entire day right now.
I just listed a house last week, and I had it coming soon, so marketing, but no one could see it when it's coming soon. There's no showings are allowed.
Mm-hmm.
So we went active on the MLS. We had 30 showings.
For those who don't know, the MLS is...
Oh, multiple listing service. So like what feeds to Zillow, Trulia, Realtor.com, my website, all the brokers' websites.
basically says, hey, this is for sale.
Yes, it's our
officially.
database of new
Yep.
properties. Correct. So anyways, it got put out there. We had 30 showings within 24 hours. I had 5 offers. multiple offers over asking price. We had showings literally back to back, and I had 30-minute time slots where some people were like, I'm trying to show it at 4 and it's booked solid from like 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. My seller happened to be out. I called the other realtor and said, hey, what time are you going to be there? There's another agent trying to get people in. But it's just wild. Like the rates right now are so low, so buying power is high up for people. So like 2 years ago, what someone could buy for 180 is now they can buy for like 220. But there's not a lot of houses. And then there's the domino effect where the first-time home buyers that bought a few, are trying to look for the starter homes. Those people are looking for the next move-up homes, and then so on. Well, building's so dang expensive. People aren't building. So it's like these people don't want to sell their house and buy something. There's nothing to buy. And then stuff that is to buy, people are coming in that are non-contingent.
Yes.
So but those, they have to sell their house, which we could sell their house in a day.
Yeah. But
it's still pretty hard. I had clients that had to pay over asking price to hold a property off market and a contingency for them just to have the chance to buy it.
Wow.
Which is wild.
That
Got
is
it done, though.
And you look at like the inflation of just lumber as an example.
Exactly. So I'm saying,
I mean, like
building
what's a
costs are
2x4?
wild.
Like $10
I know,
or something.
it's
I mean,
insane.
so now what you thought you were going to sell your house for, let's say a year ago, and what you could now build for, and all of a sudden you're starting to break ground. Well, every like 8 days, you're getting a new notice from the builder, like, hey, just by the way, that whole house is now going to cost 30% more.
Well, people are getting out of contracts with builders because prices have inflated so much that their affordability is no longer there.
Yes.
So even that piece of it too, where they don't even, can't sell their house, so they don't want to be homeless. Some people are like, okay, I'll sell my house. I'm going to make massive amounts of money because what we're getting prices right now is insane. So if sellers like on the edge and they just want cash and they don't mind renting, call me. I probably will sell it. I could probably sell half these houses sight unseen with the list of buyers I have. I went through and my assistant went through and put in 61 of 94 buyers that we have, just that I have for leads in this little system that we're working on to just send properties right when they get listed. We just got this program, which is awesome, but just top of night notifications because it's like you can't sleep on it for 3 hours,
No.
4 hours. You got to get there right away.
Yeah.
That's why my mom helped me out to do this, but and having the team structure too. But even going back to that, like I'm lucky that I'm able to have my team, have my administrations, like they're taking care of. There's a lot of realtors that wear all the hats. I don't want to be a jack of all trades, master of none. Like I'm really good at 3 things. I'm gonna stick to them. So my time is better spent selling houses, listing houses, finding properties, whatever, versus meeting a city inspector or sending paperwork to a closing company or verifying that the city inspection's been done, the firewall's been sent in, documents are sent to North Mankato. Has appraisal been done? Check with the title company, all the like clerical stuff of it, or running around putting up sold signs even. Like that, my time is better spent doing other things or with my baby. So we have a whole team in place that does that. So we have like transaction coordinator who handles the administration stuff of it. So like my team, we're small but mighty, and we're out there producing and letting the other people take care of stuff. So there's no T that doesn't get crossed or I that gets dotted. We're not missing stuff because we're in, master of nothing, wearing all these different hats. Like I'm not out there taking pictures with my iPhone of a house. I think every person that does that should be fired. You're paying them a lot of money. So we have a professional photographer that comes in and takes the pictures. She processes them. My team inputs the listings. All this stuff, the back end stuff. But the way we've done it, it's like a conveyor belt of everything makes sense. Line, it's down so nothing's missed. Where so many agents have no team to help them. They have to be running around all over. They have to take care of all the inspections, cities, appraisals, everything. And I was like, I don't want to do that. I used to do that, and it's exhausting. I got it done, but it wore me out. And it's like,
You'll
okay,
put
how do you work?
65,000 miles on your car driving in
For sure,
Mankato
yeah.
to do that.
But it's like, my biggest thing was like, Angie, work smarter, not harder. And that was the whole premise of it. So we restructured our whole company and the way it works. And every single person on the team loves it. We have people, like all of our clients are like, this is amazing. They know, like, they don't have to get me to know, a silly question. They know they can call Kayla or Laura. We can pull up our spreadsheet. We have trackers for everything, checklists. We love a good color-coded Excel spreadsheet. They know everything is. They can get you anything, too. Like, title company can call. We've got it all taken care of. It's not them waiting to get a hold of me while I'm trying to juggle everything in my life along with business and working and whatever. And so that's one thing that really makes our company different. I don't know anyone's company that runs the way we do, but it's super efficient.
2 things. One, staff is amazing. Like, having the right staff is absolutely unbelievable.
I'm a big appreciation person.
Yes.
I'm big on, like, if people know that about me, I will overly tell you. It's like probably like my love language, how much I appreciate them. And like, we are so fortunate to have who we have.
Yes. And the right people make the entire, like the world of difference.
I agree.
In that.
And the wrong people can make a world of difference too. We
Yes,
just
in the
had
wrong way.
we just had a little shake up in our office, and it was like letting go of a cancer. And it's like the collective like within the agents, and then kind of coming through. And I actually apologized to my agents that I didn't shut this bull down before. I made excuses that I shouldn't have, and I said from leadership, it's on me.
Yeah.
I should have shut this down, and I'm sorry that I didn't.
Yeah.
And everyone's like, it's okay, it's fine, whatever. And I'm like, but
no,
and
it's
everyone's
not.
like, this like the air is different in here. We feel so much freer and like less. The cancer's gone, you know, like,
Yeah.
so it just feels good. But it's like, people in your team, and, you know, we're like a little family, my company, whatever. And so it's important to have the right people, both in admin and just people you
Yeah.
work with day to day and
Yeah.
spending time. And so we had a little bit of a shakeup, but it's like the best thing in the world.
Yeah.
And like every single person that worked there's like, oh, thank God.
Well, and what I find interesting, again, just like the microcosm of Mankato, but so I was looking for office space like, man, I don't know, a couple of years ago. Or even like Lisa and I sold our house 2 years ago, whatever it was. And I found it really interesting to, especially on the commercial side, and this is not to knock commercial realtors, but the ones that I called, which I'm not going to name, like, I bet I called 6 and only 2 even called me back. I'm like, hey, I see your listing at XYZ, call me back. And they don't even call back. Like, I'm like, I'm just confused. Like,
What's funny to me is so people will be like, what is your secret? Like, what's the secret to your
calling
success?
people back.
I said, I answer my phone, and if I miss a call, I call them back.
easy.
Same thing with residential realtors. People are like, I've called 5 realtors. You're the only one to call me back. And for me, it's like I'm on top of that. Like I'm
Yeah.
calling you back, or I'll send a text right away.
Yeah.
Unless I'm like in the middle of something, you know, like I get back to people right away. Also, too, though, like same thing with emails. I'm very fast at it. I was born blonde. So I forget stuff easily, you know? So if I don't do it right away, I'll be like,
Correct.
forget to do it. Then 3 days later, I'm like, I forgot
Yeah.
to do that.
Yeah.
Which more so is like responding to friends than work stuff.
Yeah.
Luckily, but yeah, if I don't do it, I just
If
get
you don't do
busy
it
and
instantly,
get going.
it's like all of a sudden,
But
wait,
people are like,
what's
you're so fast to get back to people. I'm like, literally, because it's just it's what I have to do.
Yeah.
Or else I forget.
I resonate with that. I have to do it right on the spot. Like if I'm talking to someone on the phone and I'm like, okay, we're going to do this and this and this and this, like admin stuff. And I'll be like, I get off the phone. I immediately dial Sarah. Like, Sarah, I'm either leaving you a message or I'm going to talk to you right away, because if I don't say these things right now in the next 3.5 minutes, they will be gone out of my
I
brain.
text this amount of stuff that I text myself.
Yes.
Of like,
Yeah. It's
and
embarrassing.
I do like voice text too, and then but Siri still hasn't figured out like the way I talk, so it's kind of weird.
Yeah,
And
'cause
so
you
it's
talk like a Canadian, 'cause you're from Mankato, Minnesota.
I got a lot of shit from that in New York, but so I'm just like, but I'm like, I'll figure it out, or like autocorrect. And sometimes when I'm driving, I'll text people back voice texting, and then it's like, I don't even drink, but I think half the time people think I'm like day drinking because this
Yeah.
shit doesn't make sense. I'm actually really good with punctuation if I'm writing it myself. But if it's a voice text, it's just long ass run on
Yes.
sentence.
Yes.
So I'm like, well, and she's trying to do something now.
So you talked about the little shakeup, and you talked about the taking a leadership role, and you talked about delegating, defining roles
Yeah.
within your business. So what you still haven't answered,
Oh,
I
I'm
don't
sorry.
think, the question,
What was
which
the
I
question?
probably interrupted you.
Born blonde. Just keep it simple.
Okay.
Not this blonde, but blonde.
So what is the future of Angie VanEman and real estate? Whether are you looking to expand? Are you looking to?
We're strategic on our growth of our company.
Okay.
We are looking to add the right people to our team. Honestly, we have so many clients, and like we could use more agents, but I'm very particular about who it has to be the right fit for the right culture. We've, like I said, made mistakes on that in the past, and we're finally cleared now. So it's like, okay, we don't want to mess it up again. Which again, the buck stops with me. That's
Yep.
not my bad, and I've apologized to everybody. So we're all good. But yeah, take the right people coming along. We'd love to grow our team. I kind of, I'm going to still be a mom first. I don't really care about being the top producing agent just because I'll never do 150 deals a year. I don't want to. So I kind of, if I'm unavailable, I, give them out to my team. So all my clients and customers taken care of. Most people don't really care if it's me or say Zach or Amy or Stacy or Kaylee or somebody else on the team that shows them the house, as long as they're getting in a timely manner. And that's the
And
biggest
those people
thing
are
for us.
capable because they're the right people, and
yes.
you've trained them. And
Correct.
Yes.
And I'm also available all the time too, like by phone or whatever. I just when I'm mom, I'm mom. So dealing with that, I think growing the team, strategic. Obviously, once my son gets into school, it'll be a little bit different. He is in daycare now.
You said he's 3?
He's
right?
3. Yeah.
Okay, yep.
3 years and 2 months.
Wow.
Today, an app reminded me. I was like, time to celebrate. I'm like, is it? But yeah, so it's going really fast and it's awesome. And I love it. Yeah, personally, I'm the happiest I've ever been. I've got
I'm happy for you.
my first love. His name is Matt. I've mentioned him a few times. So
Not me, Matt.
Not you.
Different
No,
Matt.
different
No.
Matt. Popular name.
Just to make sure everyone
Yeah, let's clear that
understands.
up. But yeah, so we dated like for 4 years in high school and in college a little bit. Then we broke up, went our separate ways. We both got married. We both got divorced. And we came back together. That's actually another little kind of God thing I was saying about signs. So I was showing a house over by his old house. I've always kept tabs on him. I just always knew. We have mutual friends, so I've always been like, how's Matt doing? Is he okay? Like, he was living in the cities, whatever. And so I just always kind of knew what he was up to. Kind of kept a little tabs on whatever he's got going on. I'd see him occasionally if he'd come back for like the holidays and stuff and cordial and whatnot. Fine. And so, so I knew he had gotten divorced. He didn't know I had gotten divorced because I didn't really put it out there a lot. That was a bad situation that I didn't want a big spotlight on. And I just had my son, and I was a single mom going through some really bad postpartum anxiety and depression, some stuff with my, at the time, husband, which was not good. And so separated, but very quietly and did that. I was separated for 2 years before anyone even knew about it. Anyways, again, like protect my son and all that stuff I mentioned earlier. So I knew and so I was kind of like, I've been on my own for 2 years. I knew he was divorced, and I was like, there's something, like, he just kept coming up on my heart. And I would drive in Mankato, like, that stuff would start reminding me of him that's never reminded me of him, which is weird. And so I'm going to show a house, and I drive past his old house on, I guess I won't say, but his old house where he grew up, whatever, in Mankato. And randomly, my iTunes has like the most random music on possible. Plays a song as I'm driving by his old house that him and I used to like sing and joke around to. And I'm kind of like, I get it, God. Like I'm getting the signs. Like, and it was just he was placed on my heart, and it was like, message him. And I was like, nervous. I'm like, I don't know. Like, this is weird. Like, like I was still nervous around him because like he's like the one that got away. He's always been like the one that everyone's compared to that no one ever compares to. I don't know if you have that, but that's him. So anyways, I was like, and I'm like, I'm a divorced or going through divorce, single mom, like work, like, like just juggling all these balls and trying to whatever and like do everything I can and be the best mom and deal with my life and be a business owner and take care of all of this stuff. And I'm like, who is going to want this? But I'm like, maybe. So, so I was like, okay, I will just send a message. So I got up the courage, and I'm like, okay, God, like, I get it. Like, you're telling me all these signs. You're placing them on my heart for a reason. So I sent him a message on Facebook. I knew his old number.
The most romantic way to do it.
Right, exactly, right? So smooth. And so I'd like friend requested him like 2 years prior. His ex-wife's not a fan of me. I think maybe it's because we were first loves and whatnot. And we dated, so it was kind of.
And you were on the list in 7th grade of like,
true.
The cutest
she was part
girls
of that Mean Girls Club, so
go.
that's funny.
Yeah.
Anyways,
Well, I didn't even know that. I was just making a joke.
No, she was. That's kind of funny.
There you
So
go.
anyways,
Well, it was
weird,
because of the list
weird
in
little
7th
kick
grade.
to that, but that's why I was like, I'm not going to name names. But anyways, so there was always just. There's some weirdness there, probably because like I was his first love, and I get it. So long story long. So I messaged him on Facebook, and I was like, "Yo, the most random thing happened. I was driving, and a song came on. It reminded me of you. I just wanted to say hey and see how you're doing." Not original, not clever, not smooth. And I'm like, I rewrote it 45 times. I overthought it. And I'm like, he knows me so well. I'm really not that different than I was then to now. I'm like more responsible in my together, and I pay for my own stuff. My mom doesn't, so there's that. But so like I'm still to the core like who I was. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm like, all right. I'm like, send. And then I'm like, I sent it, like just freaking out. And then Facebook
How long
Messenger.
until your phone dinged?
Oh, this is the best part. He's going to be pissed. But what's this funny? This man ghosts me for a week.
Good for him.
Hilarious,
Good
right?
for
so
him.
this is the funny thing. So a mutual friend of ours, his best friend Brian, knew I was going through a divorce.
Yeah.
No one publicly did, unless people close to me. Brian knew kind of some stuff that happened that led up to this. I kept that very private out of just kind of embarrassment. My ex-husband was physically abusive to me, and there was a police report. There was a lot that happened to me that I, for some reason, felt shame, but even though I didn't do it, it's weird being a woman and this happening and like, okay, should I have done something different? And so that's when like I had full custody of my son after my son was about 6 weeks old, and being a single mom raising my son, and then having my ex-husband who had like attacked, and he actually threatened to kill me and put his hands on me. So dealing with all of that, I didn't let anyone know. I didn't talk about it, whatever. I just, picture perfect. Here's mom of the year. Bullshit. I was complete bullshit.
Yeah.
But I'm like, I don't want people to know this.
Yeah.
And it was like, there's a police report, so people could go down in Nicollet County and get a copy of it if they really wanted to. My old neighbor, Neil Kaus, felt the need to do that and share it with people. You can keep that in this interview.
Okay.
So anyways, they didn't ask me how I was doing, but they talked about the police report, so that's fine. Anyways, so Brian knew this, Matt wouldn't have. So, and my last name hadn't changed. So again, so my Matt sees, why is my married ex-girlfriend messaging me? And so he calls like Brian, he's like, dude, this is so weird. And I had asked Brian, like, this is weird. I'm thinking of Matt, like, what's he doing? Like, would it be weird if I reached out to him? Because I'm like, I don't know how to play this. This is so weird. Like, I've never really dated anyone. I just kind of missed all that. So long story long, Brian's like, send him a message. And I'm like, okay. So I finally got, the courage to do it. And then, he leaves it as delivered for a week. And then he's like, Angie V, good to hear from you. How's it going? And then I was like, oh, it said some silly stuff like, well, could you made you think of me and whatever. And we joke about that now. And I was like, so then I like slided. I'm like, oh, just living the divorced single mom life. Cause I'm like, I need to drop this into him. And he's like, I'd kind of heard about that or whatever. And so we just talked, and it was like, we just, you have friends that like you haven't seen, but when you see them, it's like you just saw them. You pick up right with us. Like that's how exactly it was with us, and like chatting and like talk all day. And he was up in Plymouth at the time, and like it's just like that spark and that love connection kind of whatever was still there. And it's just like it just reignited, and it's like now like coming from like now a mature place of like mature responsible human love versus just kind of like we don't pay our own bills and, go to parties and whatever, like a different love then, but it's so much different now. And like everything he wanted out of his marriage and I wanted out of mine that we didn't get is exactly the same thing in alignment. And like, as far as like, obviously I'm a mom. And so like that to me is the first and foremost. Matt's always wanted children. That was like a dream of his. And like, I'm like, if this is going to work, like you need to love my son like he would be your own. And he does. Like he's an amazing father to my son, and my son is very blessed, so am I, to have him in our lives. And so it's just kind of this full circle moment of like, this is what happiness feels like. And there's times where he does stuff, then he's like, this is a normal relationship. You don't have to do everything. I'm not, like he buys me flowers for no reason. I'm like, this is so crazy to me, like does laundry, puts dishes away, brings out the garbage, cleans the house, like buys groceries and the simple stuff like that I never had in the last decade. So it's just kind of funny, like how, like when you are with somebody who's a gaslighting narcissist abuser, and you're so stuck in that. And like, I didn't talk about that for a long time because everyone's like, you're such a strong woman. How could that happen to you? And then I felt shame because I'm like, how could it? What did I do wrong? And it's like, that's not it. Like mental mind is a whole nother level of something. And to take that to the level that it was, and then the physicality to it and whatnot. Like, I'm so glad I'm past that. But it's just like, that took a couple years to kind of digest and get past and work on myself to get to where I'm at now. And like, I don't just, I deserve someone who tells me I'm beautiful, not walks by me and says yuck. And so it's just like this big shift. And so it's like, now I have my first love back and we're happy and living a great life. And it's all thanks to God. He brings you to it through it.
That's such an interesting story in how all of those threads, like you had talked about, had woven themselves back into something that is happy, productive. It's in, like you had talked about originally, is the whole seems to me, hearing what you're saying, seems like that has been filled by not only faith, but your relationships, your son, a balance of business and personal, and doing all of those things. Is that a good...
Sort of, yes. I'm going to stop you for a second. The only thing with that, like, for me, like, 100% whole in my soul, God. What got me through that, too, is my faith and kind of working on myself and being okay with just me. Like, I said, like, if I don't date anyone or if I don't get married again or whatever, it's just me and Jackson, like, that's okay. I'm a full pie. I'm not missing anything that I need somebody to fill in for me, being like a man. Like, and Matt, I love that man. He is the whipped cream on top of my pie. He makes my life so much, just enriches my life, is amazing. But I had to get to the point where I wasn't missing a piece of the pie that I needed to fill from somebody else. I myself am whole and I'm okay as just me. That took about 2 years to get there.
Yeah.
And like being a single mom and doing everything and like, and being able to be a partner to him and for him to be a partner to me. And we're true partners. And that's what was different for me because I never had that in my past relationship at all. Like that's a whole nother, I could talk.
We'll talk about that next time.
Yeah, that's a whole nother show there. But like, I just never had any of that. So it's like having even like the actual partnership of what, and Matt will be like, babe, this is normal. And I'm like, I know, but he's like, you don't have to thank me for taking out the garbage. Like, I appreciate that you say thank you, but you don't have to be like, thank you so much for doing it. Like, it's not, don't thank me, but thank you for thanking me, but don't thank me, It's not like this grand gesture that I did. We work together, we live together, we're partners. Like, I'm going to take out the garbage. It's not all responsibility on you. When before it was, why didn't you take out the garbage type thing that I lived with. So it's just kind of weird, like having this normalcy, but it's amazing. Which sounds weird.
I'm happy for you.
If you don't know like the history, you're probably like, okay, a garbage Angie, but it's like, it's crazy, But we're just thank you.
So I have learned, on the record, I told you the story about wearing Zach's cowboy boots.
Yes.
Like, I was totally like scared of you growing up. Like,
okay.
Totally scared of you. Like, you and Britta. It was maybe more Britta.
Probably.
But like, I remember like we would run to the other side of the road when like you'd be walking down the sidewalk. You're like, and we'd like run away. It was maybe you and Britta, but maybe more Britta, but what doesn't matter. So what's interesting though is you and I we had a couples dinner 4 years ago at this point now at Matt and Lisa's in our neighborhood.
Yes, that was probably like 5 years ago.
Yes. So other than that, we haven't spent a whole lot of time prior to that. I don't know if we had talked since a long time. So here's what's been the most interesting part about this whole conversation.
Okay, yeah.
Is I didn't know almost everything that you talked about, other than some stuff like I knew what the MLS was.
Yeah.
I like, because I understand a little bit about real estate. But what I found so interesting is there's like, it's like you had said, there's way more to Angie V than just boom, sold. You know what I mean? But that's what you just see. It's on that's the cover. You know what I mean? But what I found so interesting about our conversation is the depth of your faith and Matt and your son and the balance of your business and your home and how you value that. And so I very much appreciated sitting down and talking with you. So thank you very much for taking the time. And
I told you, nothing's really going to be off limits.
No, I asked
I'll
you beforehand.
answer anything you want me to answer. I was not really planning on going as deep on or talking about certain things. I didn't know what you were going to ask me. I figured
And I didn't know what I was going to ask.
So I was like, I'm just going to go with it. I'll go with the flow. If there's something I don't want to answer, I won't. I tell people I'm an open book. You can ask questions.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I think I told you this, but if anything I say and like people looking at me, like again, like I think people perceive me maybe differently when they meet me. They're like I said, you're different, whatever. And I am more than the Angie V and the booms and the sold all these houses and whatnot. But if anything that I have been through and came out on the other side and like the happiness and the, like just a testament to how good God is. If I can help any single person get from like maybe they're in the situation that like I was in, to help get them to the other side and be maybe an inspiration or like, okay, if she did it, I can do it. I've told people like before, I did share one thing about the domestic violence. I didn't share my own words, but I read something, and I think October is Domestic Violence Month. God was like, you need to repost this. You need to take this. They don't need to be your words. Repost it and speak something on it. And so I listen. And so anyways, and I just said, like, I've lived this. And I think people would maybe be surprised. Like, my husband used to spit in my face. He choked me. He put a gun, threatened to kill me. Like maybe if they probably didn't know that about me. I haven't really spoken about it. But I've been through it. I've gotten their side. If anyone's going through that or like living in a bad relationship, I'm happy to help any way I can. If it's getting a hotel room or helping people get off or whatever. But if anything that I've said, even going through like the death of my dad, the bullying, the situation with my being a single mom and, living that and juggling that, or businesswoman, or the situation of the kind of the abuse and getting out of that and getting the other side, or like finding the confidence and believing in yourself and becoming your own full pie. If I help one person, it's all worth it. And so that's to me is how it is. And it's like, I've said this several times now, but if God brings you to it, he will bring you through it. And I've been brought through it. Will there other be terrible that happens to me? Of course, that's how life is, but it's like how you get through it and how you navigate life. And if I'm able to help anyone, I'm happy to be able to share my story, which might shock the out of a lot of people, because a lot of people have never heard me speak on any of this, because I never have.
Yeah.
My close friends have, but people would be like, I had no idea, and I just didn't speak on it. But I think, like, too, again, a God thing, having me come on here, having you ask me questions, having me speak on it, I think there's a reason why God wants me to share my voice and my story. So.
And I think this, I hope, if the people that watch this, that it, I don't
If
want,
anyone's made it this far.
Yeah, oh my gosh. If you made it this far, you have nothing better to do with
You
your
are
life.
a true champion. And I love you. If you made it this far,
Yes.
send me a text saying, boom,
Yes.
and I will buy you a coffee.
There. That's a good idea.
Yep.
So then we know who actually
That's right.
watched it. And it's going to skyrocket now. It's
will.
going to be amazing. Here's my thought of how this episode, or what this episode is going to do. So because of the public and professional persona that you have of the boom sold the house, right? Which I think is successful and it makes sense from a marketing
People love the
perspective.
boom science.
It's great. But here's what I think this podcast is going to do. It's going to humanize, not that you were not human. I hope that's not right. It's not the right word. I can't think of what the right word is. But I think it's going to humanize much more of instead of the sold by Angie V, it's like that's a part of who you are, but there's much more. It's like, again, going back to the iceberg. It's like the sold by Angie V is the stuff that you just see
I
above
agree
the
with you
water.
on that. Like as me, I'm pretty introverted. I'm big homebody. Like we are home a lot. Like we like to cook dinner, watch movies, hang out in our backyard, have friends over to grill. I would rather be at my house than going out in other places. And like that's like me as a person, but like me as Angie the realtor or whatever, like fire and ice. I've gone to that a few times, and like I'm actually really uncomfortable in situations like that.
Me too.
But it's kind of like I can turn it on in a sense where it's like I can be, oh hi, how bubbly. Where it's kind of like I get such bad social anxiety. I just have anxiety about stuff. I should probably see a therapist. Probably goes back to like bullying and wanting people to accept me or whatever. and like having to work through that and understand that not everyone is going to like me, and that's okay. But so like what people see of me, and then when they actually meet me and understand who I am. So this is, we broke open the bottom part of the iceberg for people now. So
we started pulling that back.
There we
So
go.
I thank you very much for sharing that.
Thank you for having me.
And if there's any piece of this that you want me to take out, we'll
No,
be
I'm good
happy
with
to
it.
do it.
I'm good with it.
So
Roll it.
what I think we should do is, I think it'd be really fun at some point to have you and your mom on, and then
fun.
share some stories about having to work together.
All right, is
as
Brad
a
gonna come?
Actually, that would be a good idea. Then he
would
can
be
tell some stories about some of the things that
Carla would do that.
I am not the most proud of. But so thank you very much.
Thank
number
you.
one for
Thank you.
There you go. You got it. So thank you for coming.
I'm like getting ready to leave. I've got to go to the bathroom really bad.
Okay,
This whole thing.
let's do that. We are going to peace out. Remember, Pastel Pencil Summon Podcast. Thank
Text
you.
me that.
Angie V.
I'll order stickers from her.
We will do that. Absolutely. All right. Bye, everybody.
Bye.